talk about video games because that's what's on the menu. That's the treat we're having now. That's all the metaphors I'll make there. Okay, here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Core. This is Core for January 12th, 2023. I'm Scott Johnson. That's Bo Schwartz and John Jagger. That sound at the beginning was actually something I got from Borderlands 2, I think. It's just a compilation of like death and like grunt sounds when people get hit with bullets, and I just thought it was funny. So.
Well, I laughed, so
good
success.
That worked.
Great
I always try
success.
That might give people a hint as to one of us playing a certain Borderlands game today. We'll talk about that later. But before we do anything else, I'd like to kick things off today with a follow-up regarding the Labor of Love Award going to Cyberpunk 2077. We're not going to, re-dig up all the stuff we talked about last week, but here's a little follow-up from Aaron. He sent this email in, or it's maybe in a text, maybe, I don't remember. It says, "Hi, Scott. Been listening to Core from last week, and I have a comment about the Project of Love, Project of Love, or whatever the heck it was called." The Project of Love. Yeah, it was Labor of Love.
Project of Love.
Yeah. Project of Love is that's a very different thing. Anyway, the person who emailed said why didn't it go to No Man's Sky? And he says, because they took the time to fix their game, as well as saying CD Projekt Red released a broken game. But no! No Man's Sky was broken, and there wasn't anything like what the developers advertised it to be at the time. That is true. Do you think this do you think this is a little like the hate, on a lesser scale, of course, that Blizzard gets for any moves it makes? Are CD Projekt Red in the lower tier of that bracket now because of Cyberpunk 2077? Love the show, though, Aaron. So interesting take. Like
it's a good point. I think the difference is we're multiple years in of No Man's Sky having clearly made good.
Yeah.
Like it's a time issue. Like if this was the same year that No Man's Sky came in or came out, I don't think we would feel this way about it. But we are now years and years of them releasing free updates where most of the people have generally said, yeah, they made good multiple patches ago.
Yeah.
And they're still continuing to do it with no... I mean, they literally have a system in there that would be so easy to put microtransactions on. They have a currency that is literally a special secondary currency purely for cosmetic items. But guess what? There's no way to spend real money to get that currency. You have to just play the game. Like, they are built for free to play, and they continue to just put stuff out for free.
Yeah.
So I think they do get a little bit of a pass just because they have a history of showing that they care about the game. They're continuing to support it. And as well as going back and making their very first game ever compatible for people after I think iOS made an update that made the game no longer work.
Oh, yeah, what was that called?
They kind of feel that way about all their games. It's
Joe
like
Danger 1 and 2.
Joe Danger, yeah.
Those are good games.
So they've done it, and I think CD Projekt Red, we might look back and feel that same way about Cyberpunk eventually, maybe. But it's still fairly new. It's still fairly on the forefront of people's mind. But also keep in mind, it won the category. So I would say that this is probably about a 50-50 split of people that liked it enough and thought they cared enough to nominate it and make it win. And then another 50% of people that were mad enough about it to then downvote the game and be pissed off on the internet about it. So
right.
It's in progress. They're figuring it out.
Yeah, and I agree with you. If Cyberpunk did a bunch of free updates and just kept perfecting the game over the next 6 years, maybe then we wouldn't, we'd be looking at it like, oh man, they really did make good. I think that time factor is important. Had this award been given to No Man's Sky in late 2017, a year after release, when they finally made it more playable, I think people would have been just as upset because they'd be like, well, it launched broken and you're telling me this is a labor of love. Well, labor of love, there's a time in that equation. Like time plus product equals labor of love. You know what I mean?
I mean,
yeah.
It also happened. Edge Runners came out. A bunch of people. The game was, I think, sold more after Edge Runners or was played more. There was some stat more people played or tried the game, bought it, and had a positive experience during that period of the latest patch and the Edge Runners anime being very good. That probably generated a lot of goodwill with people. And then some people probably played it and didn't revisit it and still have that chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
Like,
totally agree.
yeah. And then there's people who just can't give people a compliment.
Yeah.
Like
those people
like, I
exist.
assume there are a lot of those out there. Like you earn the mark, what is it, a scarlet letter, and then forever thou shall be lettered scarlet style.
Yeah.
I think that's how it works.
Yeah.
So
Well, there you have it. I have a guy
they're wrong. They're wrong.
I have a guy who emailed me. His name is something Paladin, like Joe the Paladin or something. And he sent me an email saying, Scott Johnson, he did it in the third person. Scott Johnson is a sellout, and I hope he gets COVID in Las Vegas.
What?
And,
Who said that?
Oh, just some guy.
What did you sell out on?
I don't know.
What
I've
do
never
you-
sold out of anything, so I don't know what he's talking about.
Well, to quote Flight of the Conchords, please be more constructive with your feedback.
Well, my answer to him was, well, I don't hope that for you at all or anyone, actually. So be careful out there and don't get sick. And that was the end of that conversation. But the takeaway for me was paladins. I don't know if this irony was lost on him, but if you named yourself a paladin, I feel like you get kicked out of the order for that.
Yeah.
That's very unpaladin-like.
Depends what god you're a paladin for.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Because there are evil
sometimes,
gods.
Scott,
Yeah.
and keep in mind, we're talking about the realm of fantasy, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Sometimes it's the religious zealots that are the most toxic.
That's true. And
among us.
ironically,
Well,
you are right.
No,
agree.
I think if you're a paladin in a good order, wishing death upon people is definitely not is not good. I have a hard time imagining any good aligned. We're talking about WoW paladins. They're
I
all
assume
about the
so.
light.
I don't know.
yeah, I would assume so.
I
But
assume
the
so.
light is still a good
Somebody
guy.
who's toxic, who's a paladin, for some reason, I just immediately thought, wow.
Oh, yeah,
don't know
no,
why.
I don't get
I mean,
any shit emails.
If
But,
Uther saw him say that,
oh, yeah, you have to be pissed.
what would Uther say, John?
Arthas, what have you done? By the way, hero, did
Play
you
another
know
class,
that
bro.
you can buy forgiveness in the Blizzard store?
Can I get a pack of forgiveness pellets or whatever? Is that a
Oh my
thing?
god, you just gave me a horrifying thought, John.
What's that?
With Hasbro and D&D are trying to microtransactions and get in on some of this video game. The eventual evolution of all this is that's going to happen at church,
Oh, man.
right? Like you got microtransactions to Jesus, and you got the subscription fee. You get Church Plus or Tithe Plus.
Church Plus.
And you get like an extra wafer to eat, or your wafer's
Why
got chocolate
haven't-
bits on it or something.
I'm now mad that this is not a plot arc on the Righteous Gemstones. It feels like
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's
it
not what
dude.
I
feels
think
so spot on.
If
for
they
it.
do
But,
another
yeah.
season, that they should make that a story point.
Yep.
That's-
Daddy,
and-
we're gonna do Jesus 2.0, Daddy.
And your prayers will get a blue check mark, and God is more likely to see them because they'll be at the top of his prayer feed. Oh shit! I gotta go pick up my Starbucks now. I'll be right back.
This is a great idea.
He
What a
did-
great comment.
He did it. He made a point and then immediately stood
Yep,
up.
he stood up.
He's doing what we have.
He's doing what? Yep. This is it. This is Bo. This is Bo. Welcome to Bo. All right. There's that. I just wanted to get that out of the way, and I think the emailer makes a good point, but I would also counter it with all the things we said. Now this. Time to talk about our main focus today, and that is Ubisoft. I have often wondered what the hell they're doing over there.
We actually have been for a while. We've talked about it.
Yeah, this isn't new, and I feel like I've been saying this for about 5 years. Prior to that, they were one of my favorite developers or publishers. I was always looking forward to stuff coming from them, with the exception of Assassin's Creed over the last few years, which I think have all been very strong. Everything else feels like a cluster. It feels like canceled or bad or delayed 50 times, or we'll show you a big CGI thing at an event, but then we will not follow up or show you anything later on. And I don't know why that is or what's going on over there, but now we have more to add to it, and I think we should pick this apart a little bit. So the news is Ubisoft axed a bunch of projects, unannounced stuff, and delayed Skull and Bones again.
Which is, I mean, that's just Thursday morning for Ubisoft. What do you guys want to do today? What if we delayed Skull and Bones again?
Yeah.
How long has it been since the last time we delayed it? About a month. Well, we should probably delay it again.
Doesn't it also feel like the last big game they released? Well, I know what the last big game they released was. It's that new Spark of Hope freaking Mario crossover, which, by the way, is very good. I got it in the mail yesterday. I've been playing it a little bit. Not enough to talk about yet because I just can't say. But it's like their XCOM kind of Rabbids Mario thing. First game was well received. This one, the reviews are off the charts. People love it. It won a bunch of awards, the Game Awards. Like, this is a legit good game. But it says something about them that this is the one and only hit they've released in a huge amount of time, maybe since the last Mario Rabbids game.
Well, you say hit, but also keep in mind the speculation is the reason these projects got canceled is because Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope did not meet expectations.
Oh, great. Financial expectations.
Yeah, so,
which is a bummer because the game, has reached all the critical reception has been very good. Really bums me out to hear that. But
I think you have competent game developers. You've got a really good game format, but I think that making games for a Nintendo platform is tricky.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the Nintendo audience is the same as the audience on other video game consoles.
Right.
And I don't think you can just easily make a franchise out of anything you put on a Nintendo console. There are some games that I feel like can get away with this. Like, they're going to do a sequel to Breath of the Wild, right?
Yeah, Zelda
games. I'm sure that game will do great.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if the sequel doesn't do as well as the original. I think there's a general trend, especially on Nintendo platforms, of this, oh, but I played it.
Yeah.
Mario plus Rabbids, I played it. Well, but this is a sequel. Yeah, but I played it.
Yeah.
And I don't think you see that so much with PlayStation and Xbox and even PC. I think you have a tendency to see people going, yeah, oh, I can't wait for the next one. I can't wait for the next one. Put another one out. I think Nintendo's just different like that. And Nintendo also, I think another thing working against them is they have a tendency that typically it's mainline Nintendo games that are this, but it kind of translates to other companies as well. They also tend to keep their games at a premium. And I don't know about you, but I have a Switch. I don't play it very often. The follow-up to Mario plus Rabbids is a game where I would go, I'll wait till it's on sale.
Yeah.
Like, that's not to say that it's a bad game, but it's not going to be top of my queue.
Well, the good news is that game is the only one. It must be because Ubisoft is calling these shots. I don't know. Maybe that's part of their arrangement. But Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope and the one prior, the only Mario games that seem like they, or any Nintendo-related or tangential games that actually go on sale. A meaningful sale. Not $2 off the $60 that you're paying for Mario Odyssey or Breath of the Wild or something. But like, this game's a $59 game. I got it for $30 on Amazon. That's almost unheard of, right? Like for Nintendo games, I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's part of that. Part of that makes me think that Nintendo's not actually getting to call those shots on the retail stuff. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't, or maybe not as much as we think. But to the larger point, though, if this is all they've got, and despite it being very critically warmly received, they've got nothing else going on. Skull and Bones was the big thing in the pipeline. I know the Assassin's Creed stuff's all gearing up, but we're nowhere near release on that stuff. What the frick is Ubisoft doing right now? They've got offices everywhere. This country, all over Canada. The only other one was
Just Dance 2023.
Yeah.
Which they also said didn't meet expectations.
Well, when you're relying on these two Nintendo-centric products on a console that is now aging quite a bit from its 2017 release, I don't know, man. I think I think they're in a weird place, and I don't think the right people are in charge or something, or what's going on. And I'm pissed about Skull and Bones because I just am looking forward to pirate stuff. And if they can't even deliver on that on time, and they've been working on that since when they announced it, 2014, 2015, something like that.
Yeah, but I wouldn't know, man. Every time I've heard from people who have played Skull and Bones, they have said it's awful.
Yeah.
The buzz around that game has been consistently the people who have played it have said it is not good, and then it gets delayed, and I think the thought is every time it gets delayed, oh well, maybe they'll make it good. And then every time they do another open beta or alpha or whatever they're in test, somebody comes back and goes, hey guys, Skull and Bones, it's real bad. It's not good.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe they're trying to get it. I would hope that they are trying to fix the game and put out an awesome game.
Yeah.
I also kind of suspect, it wouldn't surprise me to find out, they're trying to find a window where they can quietly release it alongside something else so that if it underperforms, at least all eyes can be on something else.
I guess so. Because right now, they are the Assassin's Creed company in terms of their most quality output. Everything else feels either broken, not ready, delay worthy, or vaporware, or people are sick of it. Nobody's really talking about Rainbow Six Siege like they used to, and nobody's talking about those Ghost Recon games.
How about Beyond Good and Evil 2?
Beyond Good and Evil 2, vaporware, Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Still waiting for that one.
Yeah, feels like we're never going to see that. I just don't know how I don't know any other publisher that's doing this where they got like the one thing going, and it's Assassin's Creed. I mean, they're just too big for that, or at least that's how they've set themselves up.
I think they have vastly overestimated the value of their IP. Assassin's Creed being very popular, they used to do pretty big presentations at E3, like it's the Ubisoft presentation, and we got Aisha Tyler doing the hosting, and
right.
They had some interesting stuff, but they were not. I don't know. Like you said, they really only have Assassin's Creed. I just don't. You can't have it's not Call of Duty where it's like there's a business model there. I just don't. You can't just keep going to the same well and expect the novelty to last for people.
Right.
It will for the hardcores. It might critically review well, but it's the same old shit.
Yeah. Yeah, they have a same old shit.
It's only going to make you money for so long if it's good, and then people are going to want novelty. And I don't think they have anyone on the talent roster right now that's doing it. Like, or else they'd be releasing games Beyond Good and Evil. Like, people want that. Don't know why it's not coming out.
Yeah.
Don't know what's going on in there, except a lack of talent or direction or confusion within the company, causing everything to grind to a halt. Seems like
that's how it feels. Things are grinding to a halt. And I don't like it. I used to really like this. They canceled that Sam Fisher VR game. Jesus wept, right? That was exciting. At least it was something. It was like a VR game that was set to be stealthy and trippy and supposed to be AAA and all that. That could have been interesting. They are working on a remake of the first Splinter Cell game. I don't really want that. I want like a new take on Splinter Cell. So if they're going to use old IPs, like really go for it. And it all just feels limp-wristed and weird. I don't know. And I don't mean that in the old derogatory way of limp-wristed. I just mean like, they're not trying that hard. Actually, me explaining it probably made it worse. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, but I wasn't. It passed through one ear and out the other, and then all of a sudden you pointed it out, and I went, "What offensive term Scott just used?" And all of a sudden I was aware of it.
Yeah. Now you'll think about
that from? I mean, we shouldn't talk about it more, I guess, if you want to minimize it, but I have never heard.
The 80s, I think, was a thing where you just sort of, it was meant to.
I mean, as someone who's never heard of it, oh, okay, I see.
Like,
that's
you're
not a good one. I just thought it was someone who masturbates a lot. But that's not.
No, but see, that's more what I'm saying is like there's a lack of strength over there. I am not making the pejorative around anyone's sexual proclivities.
It's not a good one. I don't think.
I don't either. I'm not going to use it anymore.
Google has a tag on the word. It says offensive.
Oh, wow. Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. So let's walk that one back and say
the big G has spoken.
They are very. I was going to say infertile, but that's not nice either.
I like that one.
They're not virulent. No, that's like
that's not. They can't get
for
boners.
Viruses.
Yeah. Oh no, they are viruses, right? What am I thinking?
Chat has thrown out half-handed.
Half-handed. Okay. Half-assed.
Yeah, half-assed is a good one.
Yeah.
Although
it's okay to offend people that only have one buttock.
Again, our listeners with only one buttocks might not appreciate that.
I want to hear about how that other one went away. Like, give us some background. Like, what happened to the one cheek? where you're just working real hard.
Directionless. There you go. Yeah.
Oh, directionless. That's good.
Yeah, we're fine. We have a direction out of this hole.
Yeah, we're
Feckless is pretty good.
Come with me, fellows, out of this hole. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. They didn't say when, did they? On Bones, it was supposed to be February. Now it's what? Hold on. See if they say. I don't know if they do.
That'll be bad for your back to have one big ass cheek.
I thought for some reason I thought they were super vague about it. Like it could come out in 2023. Possibly 2024. It will now arrive early in Ubisoft's next fiscal year, 2023 or 2024, which runs from April until March 2024.
If they delay that another year, I officially stop caring. Like I know games take time to do it, but it just feels floppy over there. I don't know what they're doing. I don't like that at all. I was really looking forward to this, but if you're going to be this weird with it, like, I don't know what to say.
I mean, they also had, it wasn't as public, but they also had their share of sexual harassment allegations, union issues to deal with. Like, there was turmoil there. They may not be coming out of it as clean as some other businesses seem to be. You know, Blizzard has had troubles. They're moving in a direction. Dragonflight, well received. People looking forward to Diablo 4. They circled the wagons. They're recognizing some unions, et cetera, et cetera. Ubisoft, who knows? It's kind of like we talked about it with PlayStation 2, when they're making weird moves and they're meanwhile actually dealing with like some major complaints on the harassment side.
Weren't we just talking on this show a couple of months ago about how Ubisoft was sort of behind the scenes begging Microsoft for an acquisition around the same time?
Yeah, I think there was something like that there too. Like there might be a case where the people who currently are heavily financially invested in Ubisoft are looking to offload it.
Yeah. And
so they got to keep the lights on. They got to continue to justify value. And so maybe their heart's not in finding talent and ideas because they have a price in mind for who they want to offload it to. I don't know.
Well, Yves Guillemot, or however you say his name.
No,
it's just Yves.
I'm pretty sure you nailed it, Scott.
Yeah. The S is silent in French.
Yves. Okay, so Yves Guillemot, which I'm sure is still wrong.
It's Guillemot.
I never say it right, so this is all.
You don't pronounce the L's when it's two L's. Like frog in French is grenouille, but there's two L's.
Oh, well.
Ouille. So you don't say you say Guillemot.
The French are responsible for most of the complications in this world. Just kidding. I take it.
The language has a lot of. It's rough.
Yeah, it's a little rough
language.
It's a little rough.
Yeah.
But he said this on Wednesday. We are facing contrasted market dynamics as the industry continues to shift toward mega brands and everlasting live games. In the context of worsening economic conditions affecting consumer spending, we are clearly disappointed by our recent performance, he says. This was to the board of directors. That's where he said this. They were surprised by the underperformance of Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope in the final parts of the year and Just Dance. And that bums me out because, I don't know. I think it is kind of the best thing they've made in recent years. It's a very good game, that series, the Mario and Rabbids thing. So anyway, I don't know. Well, I don't know what they're going to do.
I just think Bo nailed it with it was novelty the first time, and it might still be a solid game. By all accounts, it is. But I think novelty pushed a lot of the momentum of that first game, and a second game isn't going to get that novelty attention. It's just going to get people that thought, oh, what a great idea for a series. I'm going to play it.
Yep.
Yeah, they need a new IP or an old IP like Beyond Good and Evil, crank up the novelty, do something special with it, make people excited, and I bet you they'd sell a lot if they made a good game underneath.
I think you're right.
And then we'll be back loving them.
That's right. Let's check on our patron question this week. This one comes in from Braxton, who says, and this is via the patreon.com/core show. MMOs used to be the hottest thing in town, he says, but less so these days. It seems MMOs are mostly filled with 30-plus-year-old farts trying to recapture the magic of the 2000s. But if any company can bring renewed interest into this aging genre, it's Riot. What does Riot's MMO need to do to make the younger generation care? Is being attached to League of Legends enough? Says Braxton.
I don't think it's the younger generation that's playing League of Legends.
No, I don't either. They have the same problem as MMOs
Like, they might not be as old as MMO players, but I hate to tell you, I don't think that's capturing the kids' attention these days as much as you might think it is.
Not that it used to. I mean, it's still huge, right? It's enormous.
It depends also what market you're talking about. I'm pretty sure a lot of young people probably play League in China.
Yeah, there's a
Like
lot.
it's huge in China. A lot of investment has come from China, but it just depends what we're talking about.
All of it
It's a
did.
global brand, and you look at the esports teams. They're young guys in the esports teams. They're not older. I mean, older guys. As far as I know, I haven't checked in a while. Maybe they're all age now, but it's not old farts playing in the LCS. You know what I mean? It's young guys. But I think when I some of the names I've seen, it's still there's a lot of old guard in the NA teams. Like I know Bjergsen's still playing.
Yeah.
He's been around since like early 2010s.
Yeah.
Got to be
First
pushing
year.
30.
First year of the game, I think. Yeah.
But for MMOs, I feel like first of all, I think the market share was eaten up by a lot of online experiences that people want, like Call of Duty, stuff like that. I don't know if it necessarily pulled people away. But I just think MMOs attract a specific type of player, and they're not limitless.
Yeah, I agree with that.
There's a lot of competition in the market that's eaten away at WoW's dominance. And I think that's why I keep saying WoW too. Like we need the next big novelty in the MMO space, and people are looking for it. Like every time a new MMO comes out, there's a groundswell of a major content creators behind it, but it never seems to last the test of time. And I think some of it just has to do with the communities that are created around it. And these games, they're in between a rock and a hard place. If you make it too convenient, there's no need for a community. But if you make it too inconvenient, people don't want to play it. So finding that magic sweet spot that WoW did, which was both a convenient game but still had enough inconveniences to force people into guilds and to communicate, just sort of hit at the right time. Also was a very good game.
Yeah.
I just don't know if that exists right now with so many offerings. I think you have to push again the novelty factor on an MMO to 10, bring everyone to the yard, and then get them to stay. We get them to build communities, because it's those, like if I look at AIE, right? It's everyone there is friends, have known each other for a long time now. They continue to play WoW because they're part of the Frogpants community. They're part of the AIE community. They know each other. You guys were all friends because of Blizzard properties. Like that hit at a time where we could. This D&D thing is underscoring what's missing from gaming companies right now as they move into corporate superstardom, which is that nurturing the community is the most important aspect for the long-term health of any MMO or online game. And it needs to be like baked into the mechanics of the game. But the enticement level has to be that a huge amount of people have to play and want to stay.
Yeah.
And then maybe Riot will do it. Maybe they won't. That we don't know.
They might have to justify themselves, because they are wholly owned by Tencent in China, and that market will be served by that MMO because that's the plan. And that represents, an audience of possibly hundreds of millions, as opposed to, in the West. So I think Bo's 100% right. And you said something in there that you just kind of snuck in that said, it needs to have all these things, but they have to nurture that community. Riot, not necessarily known for their happy, non-toxic community. Neither is WoW, for that matter, but a little bit more on the WoW side. Certainly our community kind of proved that out. But I think that is going to be crucial for whatever this thing is. And I hope it's also full of really fun loops and amazing experiences and stuff you want to repeat and do again and do it a regular clip and not be microtransaction to death and all of those things. But without that underlying care for the player base at large and at small in like a real personal way, which the early days of WoW, definitely that was a thing. You could feel that over there. And you can kind of feel them returning to it a little bit right now, I would argue. But I agree. I think they have to do that, or else this is a little bit of a folly. It might be successful, and maybe it doesn't need to be successful for 20 years. But if they want that, and they want to
There's
beat that
different ways
thing.
to measure success.
Right.
I also think that there's an issue with the question that's being posed. Like, just at a fundamental level. Like, I agree with everything Bo said. I agree with everything you said. But I think that the idea that they have to cater to a younger generation isn't necessarily true. Like, if you are making a game that's in a genre that's played by 30-plus-year-olds, and that's the genre you're going to, then you make a game for that audience. Like, it doesn't have to cater to younger gamers necessarily. If they wanted to target younger gamers, then they should probably make something other than an MMO.
Yeah.
Now, ideally, you get both. Like, in a perfect world, you interest both groups of people, but I think that the idea of, like, I know it might not seem that way, especially if you're under 30, but being slightly over 30 does not put you so close to death's door that you're not going to be giving companies any money anytime soon.
No, in fact, if anything, you have more expendable
Yes.
income over 30 than you ever did in your 20s or teens.
So I just think that there's a bit of a fallacy to say, like, oh, you got to go chase that younger audience. I don't think you necessarily need to. I think you can make an MMO for, and it doesn't need to buck the trend of what other MMOs necessarily are to be successful. I think it can be successful being a really good MMO. But I do agree. I think my time trying games outside of WoW has really shown me that the best value you can bring to an MMO is, like Bo said, community. Sense of community goes a long way, and it's not always the most obvious things. You can have the most intricate gameplay systems in the world, and if people don't enjoy just logging in and living in that world, it's not going to succeed.
Yeah.
I think I have one more thing to say on this too, is that MMOs, when they were starting in the late 90s, early 2000s, I played PlanetSide in the early 2000s. I didn't play WoW, I think, till I was in my 30s or just shy of 30. MMOs at that time were for the how do I put this? The pathologically committed to gaming crowd, right? Like, there was no logging into Marvel Snap. There was no logging in anywhere. It was an ordeal. You had to get Xbox Gold if that even existed at that time. Like, pretty much your only option for multiplayer massively was build a PC or buy a really expensive one, get a DSL connection, like all these hurdles that a lot of people like nerd stuff.
Second phone line because your parents kept knocking you off EverQuest because they had to take a stupid phone call.
The audience at that age were all enthusiasts for this stuff, and you talk to people who were out, and they're just like, "Yeah, I'm never gonna do that." Like you were either bitten by you loved computer. Like, I've loved computers since I was like 10 or younger. Like, it was easy for me to get into this, but now you're kind of foolish to make an MMO when you can make Marvel Snap and sell JPEGs for $20.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I don't think an MMO will ever see the success at the scale you're thinking of. Like, when will all gamers just crowd around an MMO? They're crowding around Snap. Like, there's all kinds of different customer profiles, and they want the dads that are too busy to play an MMO but will log into Snap and spend $20 a month on some JPEGs and card action.
Yeah.
So I don't
card action.
I feel like the space where that might exist, it exists a little bit right now, is in the VR space. The truly committed, the pathologically committed to gaming people find themselves with the VR headset and find themselves weeping to Jesus because it's like an in-crowd thing, right? Like, people who are too cool to try VR don't get the experience. The problem is the WoW isn't there yet. We're just really enthused about the technology and speak glowingly about the experiences we have there. But there will come a time when something, blows my testicles off in VR, and then I will be saying, you have to get VR, and there'll be a whole bunch of holdouts until a headset is strapped to every baby's head in 20 years.
Yeah.
So I don't think you'll ever recapture that. I think that's a moment in time. It's like saying, do you think they'll ever recapture the magic of Woodstock at Astroworld? And it's like, no. Like, that was of its era, and that time has gone and passed and in the history books now.
Yeah.
And I think that that MMO era is in the rear view, and I don't think Riot will change that. It'll be a popular, successful game. Lots of people will play, but I don't think anything's going to be a phenomena.
No,
to the degree that WoW was.
I agree. I think maybe those days are gone, but I hope it's good, and I like the people working on it. I really like Greg Street. I like his takes on stuff. I hope, I hope it's, comes to full fruition. I mean, remember, he's the guy that came out and said publicly, with or without any PR help from the company he works for, literally said the words, "This may come out or it may not." So, I think he has an very gritty realism stance on the projects he works on. And that's the stance right now, is like, we're doing the best thing we can think of right now. We're working on a really cool thing, but we don't know for sure. But I am curious about it.
We haven't tested the waters. The side projects for Riot have been well received.
Mm-hmm.
And Valorant is really the second game in the main portfolio, I think. And Valorant, there's complaining. We're not going to cover it, I don't think. There's been a lot of complaints that dev time has been spent on Valorant, leagues getting the short shrift because they released a very disappointing season start video this year, and usually they're awesome. So the drama machine is in full spin about Riot abandoning League in favor of Valorant.
Don't care about League anymore.
Yeah,
League built this company, man. That's how that's.
Riot had to issue an apology. Sorry, our season start video was not cool this year. We thought it would be all right, and it's usually an animated piece, but this year it was just a camera that I watched it scrolled around Summoner's Rift, and everyone was like, "What is this shit? You hate League."
Yeah.
You say one wrong thing, and all of a sudden it's like they're abandoning League for Valorant.
Yeah.
No.
Did they at least get Imagine Dragons for it, or not even Imagine Dragons?
I didn't have the audio on in case it was Imagine Dragons.
Oh, that is some
I wake up to the sound of music in my ear.
Yeah. You like, whatever. They're going to play at your funeral. I'm looking forward to that one day. Well, many years from now. Many, many decades before.
It's fine. I'm sorry, Imagine Dragons. You guys are all right. I just don't like that song. I don't like Enemy. Sorry.
Yeah.
All of their songs are about we're criticized and unappreciated, or we're awful and we're embracing it, or here's what it's like to be a celebrity.
Yep.
Like, it's kind of a weird portfolio.
It is. But if that's your thing, boy, do they have you covered over there at Imagine Dragons.
Do they have any songs about dragons?
They, as far as I know,
You
not
have
a
to imagine them.
single one about dragons. As far as I know. I don't want to make any judgments here, but no dragons in any of their songs. All right. Okay. Time for us to talk a little about what we played this week. You guys, I'm obsessed with a new game that currently is my indie game of 2023. We'll see how the year goes. Okay. There's a lot to it. We just started January.
Our Discord is already on your ass for declaring Game of the Year in January.
I love this game
already
so much.
With this 2023 pick, Game of the Year.
I love this game so much that I'm having a really hard time talking about it in anything other than just extremely glowing terms. It's a small indie title. But I think there's two dudes making it, and it is called Dave the Diver. And Dave the Diver kind of looks like Bo in a diving suit. He's got a beard, cool goatee beard, and just reminds me of you for some reason. Something about his personality too. I just really like Dave the Diver.
Is he afraid though?
He's not really afraid. He's stoked.
Oh, okay.
Well, no, look, he's jumping into a lake here. He's super excited. He can poop in there and everything. It's fine. Not really. But here's what Dave the Diver is. Dave the Diver is this strange hybrid 2D, 2.5D, I would say. A lot of 3D going on visually and a bunch of 2D going on, and seamlessly working together in a way that makes it have just this really rad art style that I just don't get sick of looking at. But here's the concept about this. This slick friend of yours, who we just saw on screen, the white beard and white hair.
His name's Cobra?
I think, is it Cobra? I forget.
It looks like Cobra.
Yeah, it is Cobra. His name's Cobra. The game's very tongue-in-cheek about his stuff. He's got a bunch of money, and he wants to invest because they found this big, giant hole thing they call the Big Blue Hole, which reminds me of Bo saying,
"Oh my
blue
gosh,
hole."
This is a game for Bo. It's got the blue hole.
Yep, he looks like him.
How did it go? Presented by Blue Hole.
Blue Hole. So,
Blue Hole
goes back to our early
PUBG days.
PUBG days, yeah.
That's a long callback.
Callback
from a long time ago.
Great time though. Anyway, so here's how it works. It is you get that's the story. He's like, hey, come out here and check out this hole. There's like tons of fish in it and exotic stuff. And there's a magical quality to it, which is game speak for procedurally generated. But basically the way it's explained is every time we enter this giant, endless
blue hole
sea, when you dive in there, it changes every time. It's so crazy. So there's this aspect to it. But the cool thing about it, he's like, well, that means you can get all these exotic fish types. And what I want you to do is when you get out of that blue hole with all those fish, we're going to open a sushi restaurant and kill it, man. This business is going to be insane. So you go in there, you do a bunch of fishing, and you do other things. I'll get to that in a minute. But you go in there, you do a ton of fishing. You bring your fish out, and you fish, by the way, with like what do you call those spears? What's that called? It's like a fish spear.
A harpoon.
Harpoon. Thank you. Harpoon.
You have a D&D character that was nearly that word.
Yeah, his name's Garpoon. What was I thinking? Anyway, you can spear these fish, and some are harder to tackle than others. So some might require you hitting A a lot or B or something to pull it in. Others are just going to be tricky to catch. And as you upgrade your equipment, obviously that stuff will get better. You'll get like an entire shark, and that's great because that makes really good, expensive sushi. And anyway, you do all this gathering, and also there's other stuff in there like bits and parts and wood and rope and different things that you can use for upgrades and crafting in the game. Then you go back to the sushi restaurant where this awesome dude named
Bancho,
I think is how you say it. He runs the sushi place for you. He's the sushi chef, and he's basically Samuel L. Jackson in a sushi robe, like just a badass. And he's over there making sushi. And first of all, there's like a weird earthquake caused by the strange place you're in, and it wrecks the place, and you have to like pay for some repairs. It's like early in the game. None of this really matters. The important thing here is the loop. The loop is go fish. You can do about 2 runs, take them back to the boat. It's now nighttime, time to open the sushi restaurant. Go back to the restaurant, and you participate in serving the customers. Some of them just want tea. Some of them you can take a plate to. You hire employees, and they start taking all the stuff to everybody. You can kind of automate it at one point. I'm getting there anyway. And it becomes kind of a weird little Diner Dash kind of game for that time. And then you go back to getting stuff in the water. And all of it's handled really well. None of it feels like it's breaking the action. Like another game I love is Moonlighter, but the problem with Moonlighter is the daytime selling stuff in your shop versus the stuff in the dungeons at night were such a disparate experience that it felt disjointed sometimes, and just the pacing was off. This doesn't have that problem. This has me excited to dive and search and find and bring back and try not to die and all that. And it is also equally fun to go back to the sushi restaurant and go crazy and earn as much money as possible. And that's kind of the loop. Now, there's a ton of other stuff that'll happen. A guy will drive up in a boat and go, there's ancient voices we've detected near the bottom of the thing. Can you go deeper and find out some clues and this sort of thing? So there's a lot of like weird, extra quests and stuff that you can do in there. I got these RPG aspects to it. You're constantly upgrading equipment and your ability to breathe longer, like a better air tank, take more damage. You can get a shotgun at one point that's really good for taking out sharks and stuff. And I'm absolutely hooked on the loop. It's so much freaking fun that as it stands, of all the indie games I've played this year,
all 12 days of this year.
All 12 days of this year. I mean, I realize I say it mostly joking because I know it's way too early to make a call like that, but what a freaking great game. I love it so much. I recommend it very highly. It's $20. I think it's been worth every penny. It plays perfectly on the the Steam Deck, and as equally as it does just in Steam. And I don't know what else to say except it's just amazing, and I freaking love it. It's so good. Oh, by the way, when you're real deep and you're out of air, there are places to find air. There's also a way to get an elevator to come get you in an emergency. There's like all these abilities that you can unlock. See that little radio he's going to talk to? It's an escape pod. That's a new ability. And that literally means like, oh, well, if I'm in a pinch here and I got to get out of here and I'm not going to make it to the surface and I'm running out of air, I can call the radio and they'll send down the elevator. If you die in there, you'll end up just not getting to take back as much stuff as you had when you died. So it's roguelike in that way. I can't say enough about it. I love this game. It is so
I like
my
the
jam.
look of it a lot. It's got a really good look.
Yeah, I just completely hooked on it, and it's just, I don't know. There's a sense of humor I really appreciate. There's like this conceit when you upgrade your sushi guy. He does who's the chef that does the salt behind his ear and he's wearing the sunglasses and like sprinkles it out? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
It's
I know
like a
who you're talking
meme.
about. The guy that got on the World Cup stage and everyone's like, "Why the hell is he here?"
Yes, that guy. I think it's that guy. They do a lot of stuff like that. It's not a direct meme, but it's like you just upgraded your seasoning ability, and so they do this cutscene. It's all done in like great pixel art, and it's just awesome. I absolutely love it. So there you go.
Salt Bay. How could I forget such a
Salt
atrocious
Bay.
name?
Yeah, it's really bad.
There we go.
Anyway, Dave the Diver, available on Steam, $19.99 currently, and it is in early access, but feels finished. So I don't even know why it's in early access.
This is a tough recommend for me, Scott.
Oh, it's Chorecore. You're probably not going to want to play it.
Well, I mean, it looks good. I love everything you've said about it, but it is fishing.
Yeah, it's fishing.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But it's active spear fishing. It's like...
Yeah, I'm not dismissing it. I'm just saying it's hard for me. I'm like...
I get it.
It does have a blue hole.
But it looks amazing.
Hey, Bo, there's blue hole in it. There's a blue hole.
Well, sign me up then.
All right, then you're
the
you're
hole
in.
and it's blue, then I'm okay.
Fantastic. The upgrades are great. It's just a fun game. It's not in VR chat, so Jesus will not weep on this one. I can't say enough.
The restaurant looks awesome. I don't know. It looks sweet. I mean, I guess the one thing that's great about this is that like I don't like it in MMOs or games. So this is its own game, and that's the main loop. So maybe I don't know. I'm interested. I'm wishlisting this.
Yeah, you should. You should keep an eye on it. It's
Looks
over.
cool.
Oh, I should mention the reviews right now, both current and archive. Overwhelmingly positive.
I also really like
Well,
sushi.
Yeah,
I do like sushi. It's gonna make me hungry.
I know some people who don't like it, but I think they're crazy.
I do too. Those people
doesn't like sushi. Sushi's amazing.
Those people need to take a flying leap. All right, that's game number 1. Game number 2, another little indie darling that is not from this year, so I couldn't count it, I guess.
Nice way to be nice about it. You're like,
Yeah.
this one is not my game of the year.
Yeah, it's it's really good, but it came out in 2022, so I can't quite give it the props it deserves. But this is a game called Dome Keeper, and a bunch of people have been recommending this for a while, mostly saying, hey, if you're looking for a good roguelike type experience, but you want to have it on your Steam Deck, then this is a really good one of those. Here's the concept: it's a dome. Well, you're an alien. You're a ship landing on an alien planet. I know that's a big giveaway there. Your ship.
Let me tell you the concept for Dome Keeper.
Yeah,
It's
there's
a
a dome.
dome.
There's a dome in it. You got to keep it. You crash land on an alien planet. It's hostile to you. You don't know anything about it, but you crash there, and you immediately set up this dome with some hardware inside, including a computer where you do upgrades and a little grinder thing where you take your stuff and grind it. Every once in a while, there's like a timer. You have to come up into the dome and defend your dome. Now, before you say, Scott, I thought you hated tower defense. This is not tower defense. This is like
dome defense.
It's dome defense.
Different thing.
It's a little different, altogether. I guess. But no, okay, so when you're not up there defending yourself, you are down. You're digging almost like SteamWorld Dig style below the dome into the planet, trying to find ore and minerals and things that you can use for your upgrades. And eventually you get upgrades that will help you radar where something might be so you don't have to look for it as long, faster speed, carry more to the surface, this sort of thing. And you'll see this guy do this in a second, but he basically is going to grab 2 or 3 of these. He's going to move really slow unless he's doing all right. Anyway, you take those up and the little grinder goes and it turns it into raw materials that you can then use for upgrades. And there are different kinds of materials. You'll also unlock ways of better telling when aliens are coming and when it's a problem, when they're a threat. When the timer arrives, a little Space Invader icon blinks and you go upstairs and fight these things with a giant laser on your dome. And that in itself is pretty fun, kind of a weird little arcade mini game in a weird way. And you upgrade
like missile defense, but like
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say Missile Command mixed with Dig Dug.
Missile Command.
Yeah,
Missile Command from Atari mixed with Dig Dug.
a little bit. I would say more like SteamWorld Dig mixed with. Well, because there's a melee dome that I unlocked. So on one of my runs, I did well enough where technically you have a goal every run, which is to find this relic and take it to the surface, and that relic can be buried pretty deep. So you got to find it. Once you do, though, you get some unlocks, and one of the unlocks I got was a new form of the dome, which has a giant sword on the outside of it, and this thing is like more of a melee weapon, but you can also shoot it at airborne enemies. And it goes out on a tether, and you steer the tether to hit, and it's a little bit of a skill thing. But if you hit it, it's great because it's super powerful, and then it retracts back. But then you can use that to chop at a guy, and the further you pull back and then slam down on the melee guy, the harder you're going to hit him with the melee version of the dome. So there's some weird conceits, but they work in the context of the world. You can get this little creature that'll go dig for you, but you got to keep waking him up when he falls asleep. Like weird upgrades like that. It's an awesome, weird little game. It really is weird. It's a weird combination of different game types, and it scratches all those itches I always have for crap like this. So if that sounds interesting to you, the game is Dome Keeper. Yeah.
I got some extra to say about this. I actually came across this game like last week or the week before, like learning of its existence, because it is also made in the Godot game engine, which is you can get it on Steam or you can just download it off the internet, but it's the open source game development platform. It does 3D as well as 2D, but it's royalty free completely. So it's not made using Unity or RPG Maker or anyone. It's just interesting to see this showcase because there still aren't a lot of commercial games that are made with the Godot engine yet.
Sure.
And so it's interesting that this was one of them. So all the money is, well, except for what goes to the Steam or wherever you buy it, most of it's going to the developer, which is
I always like that. Yeah, and it was, I think it's 19. I got it on sale during the Steam sale for 15. The other thing I was going to say, it's funny you bring that up because the other game we've talked about on the show was my game of the year last year, in 2021, which was Loop Hero. And for whatever reason, both of these games that I just talked about are reminding me of my time with Loop Hero. And I think it's partially because these are 2D, interesting art style, whatever kind of things. But also there's just like a fiddly, detaily kind of quality to the gameplay. It's like, I'm doing this thing. I'm better this time. Okay, this loop I'm doing better. They're coming. That was a hard melee guy to fight, but good thing I got all these resources and these extra ability. Like I don't know. There's something about it that feels similar. This and Dave the Diver kind of gave me that Loop Hero vibe, which I also played this week, but I'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah, this art style actually does fit Loop Hero.
Yeah,
quite well. It actually looks a lot like it.
Basic-y, stuff. It's got real personality. It's a fun game. I would highly, highly recommend this one as well. It's hard for me to. I'd like Dave the Diver a little more in terms of just overall. I like it more, but I think this is also a very good game. And if you're into a game where you're trying to hurry up and make things cooler and better and stronger, this one's got your back. It's good. It's a fun loop. And one guy made it, and I always appreciate that. Let's see. What else? Oh, I had a lot of meetings this week, and so these games both made me miss Loop Hero.
A meeting heavy week.
Yep.
Meeting simulator.
And that's why I fired up Loop Hero again, because I was reminded of it because of these games, and B, I had meetings, and some of them were boring, and they didn't need me to be super focused, so I said, play a little Loop Hero. So I did a bunch of that. Not much more to add, except Loop Hero is still one of my favorite things ever. I love that game. And then I played a lot of WoW, but I've talked about that to death. That's been.
You do anything new and cool in WoW?
So I'm at the stage now where I'm trying to gear up for like public raids and stuff. So I'm a bit on the gear grind, but I'm doing the quests and stuff to flesh out the different reps in the game that are part of this dragon rep stuff they're doing, which I like a lot more than what they've done in the past. It's still, you got to go in there every day and do your stuff and you make some progress and that kind of thing. The only bummer I have with this right now, and I'm really enjoying this game, I'm really enjoying this expansion like a lot, but my biggest complaint is something I didn't know they did. and apparently it was announced, and I just missed it. But it used to be with World Quest from Legion forward, because Legion, I think, was where World Quest first happened.
Yeah.
And they were based a lot on what adventure mode was for Diablo 3, and I was all for it. And I really liked World Quest as a general concept in the game, and have since they put it in. But usually in the past expansions since Legion, there was always a billion of them, and when they would time out, if you didn't get to do it while it was up, another one would be up somewhere else that you could go do. And there was always new world quests being rotated in and out all the time, along with other events and stuff. They've decided to pull way back and only do them twice a week. They only update them twice a week. So like, I forget what the days are, but let's just say it's Tuesday. On Tuesday, you'll get 6 new, or whatever it is, total number of world quests. But once you do those, if you haul ass and get them all that day, you got to wait until Thursday or Friday or whatever it is before you get more.
There's things I like about that. There's things I don't like about that.
Yeah.
Like, the thing I like about that is WoW does need to get away from chores, like being your daily chores.
Right.
Which is what World Quest ultimately ended up feeling like for me. Like, oh, gotta get in and do my dailies. But I think it's good to say, like, hey, we're not going to push you to be doing an insane amount of these every day. I do think there's a lack of variety from that, because like one nice thing about World Quest is if there's one or two you maybe don't like doing at all, you just have to wait a couple hours and it goes away and something else pops up in its place and you're like, all right, well, good, I can go do that instead. So I kind of, I mean, I don't know how they are. Maybe they're all a lot more fun than they used to be back in the day. But I think a lack of variety is a bit of a bummer. But
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, to me, you say there's less world quests you need to do in a week, and I'm like, oh, thank God. That sounds like a huge positive.
What it feels like to me is that they're tuning, and they're not quite to the perfect arrangement yet. Like, I do think it is better. Less is better in this case, and so I think you're right. And I think a lot of players would agree with you. But I think that they maybe dialed back a little too much. So maybe they'll just, they'll tune it forward, and it'll be fine. But I really like the world right now. The tone of Dragon Isles is such a rad place. Flying is actually really fun. Like that's the only other complaint is when I play in other content and the other parts of the world, like for whatever reason, a quest will say you got to go to Orgrimmar and do some shit or whatever. The Dragon Isles dragon riding doesn't work there. So
I do think that's dumb. They need to change that.
They need to change
everybody
that.
knows that dragon riding is coming to everywhere in the game. Like, that's the easiest prediction to make about the future of WoW in the history of predictions.
Yeah.
Like, 1, the Drakthir can already do it, and 2, like, obviously they're going to do it.
Yeah, I agree.
So I feel like just do it.
Yeah, just
like,
do it.
That's what we need. Just do it.
Just do it and make it just work. Like, I don't know why it can't. There must be some technical thing I don't know about, or else I think
there can't be, because the Drakthir can do it.
Yeah, that's true, right? That's true.
Like that race can do that. That's part of their racial abilities. So I cannot think of any reason why they wouldn't be able to do it.
Well, they're just gating it to gauge feedback before putting it all across the world.
Maybe
it'll be like a mid patch of some kind, or
because if you
want to, we'll get Cataclysm 2, and then that's when it'll get added as the next X pack.
Oh, it could be. But the way I want them, I mean, it just it's so much more dynamic and fun to travel in this way. It's almost a game unto itself. I just want to do that everywhere. Let me go to the Barrens and fly like that. Like, don't make me do the freaking slow ass regular flying thing. Plus, they encourage you, you're double tapping spacebar for certain moves and hitting other buttons to do like deep dives and all this stuff you do as you build out your dragon during your leveling. You still might, I'm having muscle memory while I'm in the middle of the Barrens and I'm double tapping spacebar to no avail. It doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, right. I can't do shit with that here. So there's a few things like that. But I think that I smell the love of in this new zone, in these new zones. Like, it just feels like they really went hard on, like,
can smell the love.
Smell the love.
The dragon love.
It's good though. I like it a lot. And I'm going to keep at it. How will I do long tail? I don't know.
Do you think if they bring dragons to all of Azeroth, nobody uses any other mount but dragon?
Oh, I wouldn't. I mean, I
would
think
hope that they would give an option to maybe use that with other mounts, but I don't know.
I don't know why they couldn't. Like graphically, they're not any different than a Drake or something that you already have.
Don't they do like soaring animations and stuff like that?
They do, and I don't. That's the part. Maybe they don't have that in there.
Yeah.
So it'd be a lot of work to retroactively add some anims for everything, right?
Yeah.
So.
And maybe they can come up with some.
I know that was my big muscle memory issue when I went back to WoW to try it, was going from Final Fantasy to WoW. I got on a mount because it looked like a cool mount, and I pressed spacebar to fly, and it didn't fly. It just jumped like an idiot. And I was like, why can't my mount fly? I can fly. Because in Final Fantasy, literally every mount, whether it makes sense or not, flies.
Right?
Yes, Final Fantasy has tanks that fly.
And
I got into 2 tanks. They're just floating around.
Yep. And I got into WoW, and I was like, why the hell can't my mount fly?
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to remember, oh, right, that's a thing over here.
That's a ground mount.
Not everything can fly.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot more ridiculous things that fly in Final Fantasy than tanks. That's not even halfway up the list of ridiculous things.
I was very irritated when I saw like an old school World War II tank flying around. I'm like, oh, we're just anything goes here. Like it's one of those places.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to have.
They make attempts on most of them. Like the turtle at least spins around like Gamera, and fire comes out of its legs, and it's like, okay, well that's how it flies. The best one is a gorilla, where they were like, we don't know how to make the gorilla fly. It just runs through the air. Like there's no special animation for it. There's no effort. The gorilla just goes, it just flies off into the air.
There's really a gorilla. They should form a guild and do like the flight of the gorillas or something
guild.
Like that.
Yeah, I like that. That's pretty good. Like the running of the running of the pigs or whatever it is we do in the EIE. What's it called? No, the running of the cows or
there's March of Murloc. There's the Murloc March at BlizzCon.
Yeah, but there's
the running of the bulls. It's all Tauren.
Oh,
right?
running of the
Something
bulls.
like
That's what it is. Yeah, and they do Taurens, all Taurens, and then sometimes it's a gnome, not a gnome thing, goblin thing, because gnomes suck. F gnomes.
There's also T-Rexes that fly. They don't really have anything besides what looks like they're just swimming through the air.
I love that. I mean, part of me just wishes they just open it all up, and part of me kind of appreciates that there are ground mounts versus air mounts. And
there's got to be a line somewhere.
Yeah,
I have learned that there shouldn't be. That there doesn't need to be. That it's just better if you get to pick what mount you like and it flies.
Even if it's a tank bow.
I tell you, when you get into VR, you'll really like VR chat because anything freaking goes in there.
Oh yeah, everything flies there.
It's better.
Well, okay, so it's good. I like that game, and I will keep at it. There are for sure adding more mounts in that will be Dragonflight mounts, dragon riding mounts. The question is, how soon can I take those in other parts of the world? And I would really like to. But there's an advantage, by the way, of not changing all the old stuff to do it. It'd be cool if you could toggle it, maybe. In fact, you know what? Just let me toggle it with the new ones. I just like the idea of there are certain situations where I just want to hover up there and hang out in my flying mount. And there are other times where I want to be actively flying it, like with dragon riding. And dragon riding mounts can't stop midair and float there. You go until you land, and you got to decide what you want to do. So it's
that's a little strange.
I mean, it's fun.
Dragon could handle that,
It could. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A toggle might be nice or something, or even a button. I don't know.
Toggle would be good. Iron Man VR does that. You have a button because mostly you fly around with your rocket hands, right? But when you want to just float, press the button, float. Your hands free, you can shoot. So toggle for. I'm surprised you can't hover in Dragonflight.
Yeah, it's weird. You could take your regular. The problem is also you can't do regular flying mounts there yet. So I can't even decide to use one to float in Dragon Isles, whereas I can do that in any other part of the world where I have flying unlocked, but I can't use my dragon riding mounts in those places. So
that direction makes more sense to me than the other way, though. Because normally you wouldn't be able to fly at all right now in a WoW expansion because they would lock you out of that until several patches in. So saying okay, you're not going to have normal flying, but we'll give you this version of flying. I kind of get that.
Expansion identity, right?
But the old world stuff, I feel like you should be able to still do it there.
Yeah, I agree.
Right now,
it sure does make the game fun, though. I feel like dragon riding is a big, fat success in terms of making the world feel fun. I like it a lot. So
I haven't got my dragon yet, but I did play a Drakthir, and
the new
flight
craft
stuff was great.
Yeah,
sorry.
Oh, go
I
ahead.
just was curious. Does the new crafting stuff of any interest to you this go around? I saw
Yes.
someone post. I think it was Shieldwald who does the Starting Zone
Right.
podcast. He was saying, "I crafted my shield for raid content." And I was like, "What? You can do that?"
Yeah, it's got a lot more going on. Most people have gotten their head around it, really like it from what I can tell. It is a bit obscure and a little bit not intuitive, the changes. I think they can smooth that over with some patches and stuff. I haven't dabbled too hard yet because I just have never really gotten into professions. But
That's what I wanted to know from you, because I've been a long time listener of yours. I know how much you love professions in World of Warcraft.
Used to hate them, just hated them. You know, like skinning's all I ever did because skinning's easy. Just I killed a bear. Let me get a skin and move on. Like
that's right. Skinning is the most time efficient because it's right there in front of you.
It's right in front of you, especially for a hunter who's always killing stuff. But the nice thing about skinning is skinning. So I guess I am dabbling because skinning is all overhauled as well. And even though the convenience of skinning things is still there, having the different grades of skin and going, that's two silver stars or whatever. I want a gold star skin. And how do I do that? Well, there's ways to refine the skins with the right reagents to make them better skins, but also it's possible to learn to be a better skinner in the first place and skin more gold skins. Those get more money on the auction house. Once in a while, skin will drop that's meant to be right-clicked and learned from, and then you up your skill. There's a bunch of stuff like that. That's all very surface stuff, and there's more deeper in there. And there's also tools you can equip that basically they act as buffs. So I might equip a better knife, but it's just like an icon in my professions tab, and it will let me be, it will ensure a higher percentage of gold skin rather than silver skin.
Okay.
That kind of thing.
Profession?
I do. So I've got that and leatherworking, but I haven't done shit with leatherworking. It's still just sitting there waiting for me to do something, and cooking. So you have the basic.
Apparently,
ones.
There's some high level gear in the leatherworking, so that might be something to.
Yeah, I should do mail, but because that's what I wear.
Oh, right.
But I don't know. I don't know what to do yet.
I thought leatherworking does get to do a little chainmail as well. Like
it
one's
does.
leather hides, but then there's scales, and then they call that chainmail.
Yeah, a lot of
that. A bunch of hunters would take leatherworking.
Yeah. So you can, maybe now more than ever, but in the old days I did it just because I was like, well, I got what I got. I want to make something for somebody else, so I'll try to be good at this. And then I just hated professions back then, so it just never went anywhere. So yeah, I want to explore that more, but I've been focused on other stuff, but I will. I think.
Sure. I'm just curious about it because I like to dabble in the professions because I'm usually chasing something, and I heard it was overhauled.
Yeah,
so I
like the new sex worker profession. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Goldshire.
Yeah, Goldshire.
It's on mailboxes.
Yeah. There's a place in the Dragon Place, but you have to have sex with a lot of dragons.
Take on sex work and.
Oh no, I don't want.
I'm just picturing the UI. This is like.
Fruit
we're
bowls,
not going to go down.
Fruit bowls as far as the eye can see.
Yeah, they'd have to change the name of the.
Yeah, maybe not the best company to implement such a thing, but I still,
just don't have the name.
I'm sex positive. It's a real job, and it can, in theory, be a profession in World of Warcraft without being gross.
Yeah, they just may not be the ones to do it right now. Probably.
You think?
Yeah. Just feels like it's not
company
really.
recently under allegations creates sex worker profession to
we don't want that.
Yeah, maybe not, but it's just it's fun to. I'm just picturing the UI. I'm not trying to bring all the politics of it, and I'm just trying to think what the buttons would look like.
Sure.
All.
They're all called McCrees.
Picture the buttons.
They're all called McCrees. You have to push it. Oh no, wait! You have to change it to McGillicuddy or McDonald or whatever. What's the new one?
Was it Cowboy McDonald?
Cowboy McDonald is the new name. John, let's talk about Final Fantasy XIV, otherwise known as 14, and their new patch.
Spot on, man.
6.3, I guess, is the new patch. How's that? What are we doing there? What did they give you?
It's good. You want to talk about thirst? The Final Fantasy fans are thirsty fans, and this patch delivered. Yesterday, my Twitter trending was nothing but names of a character and people being real thirsty.
You mean like erotic thirst?
Yeah, like erotic thirst.
Not like thirst.
Yeah, no. They're a thirsty bunch. But no, the new patch is great. As usual, Final Fantasy gets by on its story, so a lot of it has to do with the story. So there's not a lot I can say in there that isn't just spoilers, but it's a big story patch. It's a update to the Alliance raid story with that's basically their bigger raids. They have smaller 10-man. I don't remember how many people are in the Alliance raids total, but it's bigger. It's basically 3 groups going through. And it is really solid from what I see. I mean, the big question coming out of Endwalker was, how is the story going to be going forward? Because Endwalker, at its base level, wrapped up the story of Final Fantasy XIV, and their new story that they are telling is very, very good, and I'm hooked. It felt like a big to be continue at the end of it, which made me sad. I didn't fully appreciate what it was like when this game was hundreds of hours before me, and every time there was a big hook at the end of a story arc, I could immediately get the payoff whenever I wanted. Now I have to be patient and wait patch to patch, and it's kind of killing me a little bit. But the new dungeon was great. The new trial was really good. Not as batshit crazy as the last one, but it was very good. Lots of homages to Final Fantasy IV that I enjoyed quite a bit. Yeah. And I'm trying to think what else they added. Is there anything in this that I can actually like talk specifically about? And
what new World War II vehicle can fly in this?
Yeah.
Oh,
Panzer mount.
They added the blimp from Final Fantasy VI.
Yeah.
As a mount that you can buy from the gold
saucer.
There
you go, a Zeppelin, right?
Yep, and Zeppelin. And although those are supposed to fly, so that's probably good.
Yeah.
And
yeah, but still, we're in the World War II theme.
So, that's in there, and it's like 5,000.
Is this gameplay I'm seeing?
I'm not going to be able to buy it.
This raid or whatever it is I'm seeing.
Awesome.
It looks
you're
like,
looking at PvP.
Okay, but this looks like a track.
It's track and field. I was going to make the same comment, but I didn't want to interrupt John or just
it feels very track and field to me.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a flying bear.
You're looking at PvP.
Final Fantasy XI has a very diverse in all vectors.
14
is very diverse in all vectors. Or 14 is very diverse in all vectors, be it level design, vehicles, characters.
Flying bears.
That's one thing that struck me. Or just in-game mechanics. Love the barding. Absolutely treasure my experiences barding in that game. So, it's a good game. And it looks like track and field quite a bit.
I mean, I think it's supposed to. I think the idea is like this is a sport. Like this is competitive sport. Their PvP is not presented as like genuinely trying to kill each other. It's presented more as training or games or things like that. So it's I think that's probably an intentional. It's actually my favorite of the PvP fields.
Oh,
so
do they have they still got the little tiny Lapo, whatever the names are. What's the little miniature?
Scott, weirdly enough, they didn't remove an entire playable race from a patch. I know that shocks you because there's such a long-standing history of companies doing that in an MMO, just going, we know a lot of people play this, but we've decided that because Scott Johnson doesn't like them, we're going to remove them on this patch.
Yeah.
So
I want them all to wake
weirdly, they decided to keep them.
I want all those players to wake up, log in, and go, oh, I'm a human. What happened? And just, have them explain it. Oh, nobody liked these little twerps, so you're now these big.
Twitter would be insufferable if that happened for months.
Can you imagine? Oh, my Lord. Elon Musk would have to intervene on that day on Twitter. That would be so
I think there is a pattern. I think so many people go to that game hating Lalafels, and then they play through it. And then they get to a place where they're like, I think I want to play as a Lalafell. I think that's the path that it goes. Because I was just like, they're not for me. I mean, I'm not going to go so far as to be like, I hate them. They should be removed from the game. But I didn't like them. Like, that was the obvious no. Like, when I made my character, I looked at all the options for basically every race except the Lalafells. I was like, well, we know it's going to be a no here. And then once I played through the game, I was like, Yeah, but I should make myself as a Lalafell and see what it's like, because I'll be like a
Yeah.
tiny little me running around in the game, and that'd be fun. And it was.
Yeah.
So I think everybody comes to the table with preconceptions, and then once I think you've played the game and you see what they are, and they just kind of blend into the world, you're like, turns out I like fun, and it seems fun, and I'm gonna go play.
Yeah,
it.
you
That's
just
how,
it's lowering of standards. It's fine. You can you do
that's
that
how
in
I
all sorts
ended
of
up a
things.
dwarf in WoW.
Yeah.
Because I was playing Draenei. Draenei? Yeah, I'm saying that right.
Yeah, Draenei. Yeah.
Drought, Draenei.
Yeah.
I love that
Draenei.
R&B band from the 90s, Drought, Draenei.
Yeah, Draenei. They were great. Triple D.
Or, I think I'm thinking of Belle Biv Bivo or something like that. But Drought, Draenei. But it's a deep R&B cut for all you R&B fans out there.
Oh, yeah.
No, but I was like, oh, let me play a gnome, just like John said, right? I played enough WoW, like maybe I want to play this little race. I saw a cute little warlock one, and then I was like, oh hell no, I don't want to be this. But dwarf, low stature person, so great, but
Yeah,
they're
dwarves are great.
badass.
I love dwarves, and I like goblins. I just
I mained a dwarf for a long time because not a lot of people play dwarves, and not a lot of people play dwarf women, and not a lot of people play dwarf women warriors. They're always priests for some dumb reason.
Yeah.
It's like girls can't swing swords. I was like, F that. I'm gonna be the most feminist player in World of Warcraft. And there you go.
all right. I'll give you this, John.
Yeah.
At least I can pick that Lalafell deal and end up with one with a mustache that goes, "Hey, we need to go get shit done." Like he can have a
Yeah.
low, gravelly voice. That kind of fixes it a little bit for me because that's
You know
ridiculous.
what terrifies me about Lalafells? And I'm dead serious about this. I streamed this just to see if I was making it up or if it was real.
Yeah.
And I had universal agreement in my chat room that so Final Fantasy, the main character isn't voiced, they're always silenced, but you do pick a voice when you make your character for
Yeah.
various grunts and uhs and stuff like that. One of the Lalafell voice samples sounds exactly like me.
Really?
Yes.
Do you know which one it is?
Not off the top of my
Oh
head.
man, I bet I could find a compilation. We could narrow it. Let's see.
But I can, you know what? I'll record it and I'll send it to
Well,
you.
we're busy
Okay.
doing a show. Maybe
Not
someone in
right
chat
now,
room can
but
help.
I will. I'll.
Yeah.
No, I'm
I'll do
saying
it.
maybe someone in chat can help us so we can revisit it once they found it. Maybe I don't know.
But yeah, there's a voice sample for a Lalafell that sounds exactly like me, and I heard it the first time. I was like, "The hell? That sounded like my voice." And
Well, Okay, let me
it's
try.
eerie
If
how
is it a
accurate it is.
girl voice?
Oh, it's a boy voice.
It's a boy voice. Okay, hold on.
Yeah, thanks, Scott.
No,
That
I
made
mean
me
I
feel
don't know.
good.
I just you play a lot of
Girls
girls.
are awesome. It's okay. It's not an insult.
Okay, that's a girl. Hold on. Oh, how about
It's
this?
not
One?
an insult to sound like a girl.
Oh,
Most
she's
fast food places think I'm a girl when I place my order.
really? Shut
Yeah.
up. For real?
No, it's true. I get ma'am all the time at drive-throughs.
Oh, weird. All right,
Wow.
that surprises me.
I mean, it's a drive-through speaker, right? I mean that.
All right, let's try this.
No,
Okay. That's not it.
John could do that voice though.
I could do
It's not
it,
his voice,
yeah.
but he could do that one.
Okay.
Chat is saying Lala voice 12.
Oh, let's try it. Lala voice. Let's see. 12.
Lalafell.
Lalafell, sorry. All right, here we go. Battle voices, male Lalafell voice 12. Here we go. Okay, let's keep him going here. He's just shaking his head. Okay.
No, I don't think that's it, but it does sound close. Oh, maybe that is it. No, that's not it.
That's John in the morning. We just want
Going Super Saiyan there. That's cool. All right. Well, it sounds like they're continuing their quality business there with 6.3. From what I've heard from
it's
you and
awesome.
everybody
A
else.
lot of new quality of life things. I mean, the thing that does my heart good about Final Fantasy patches is you get a little bit of everything. It's not just like, hey, here's the new raid. There's new raid, there's new story. They also went back and updated old, like what would be considered vanilla zones.
Yeah.
To where you can dive underwater and explore underwater there. There's really no reason to do that except for just feature parity with other aspects of the game. And like putting those sorts of things in is really nice. They added some quality of life things for doing dungeons and raids, where now at the beginning you get to see the character portraits of everybody in your team, so you know who is who. And at the end, when you give your commendations for people that you thought did really good during the dungeon run, you get to see their portraits. So sometimes it's hard to keep track of, like, especially if there's multiple healers or multiple tanks, or, you know, 4 DPS in a party. You're like, well, that one person was doing really good, but I can't remember what their name was. Now their portrait pops up, and you can kind of say, like, oh, that's the person that was killing it. That's who I'm gonna.
I like that.
That's who I'm gonna give my commendation.
That's some fostering community stuff going on right there.
Yeah,
I would argue.
So
right there in the game.
That stuff is really, really good, and it's nice to see those quality of life things continue to be there, and also just seeing how many people were there for the, you know, for the dungeons and raids, you know, because I'm used to in WoW that is a big part of those games, but not everybody participates in it. And to go to the new raid zone and just see a queue of people progressing the story and forming groups and stuff, like, it felt good.
Yeah, it's always good to see. You played Norco, a game I've had on my need to play this list for a long time because, boy, people love this. How is Norco, and will this convince Bo and I to get off the pot and play?
Norco is super cool. So Norco has a really cool art style. It's like, I don't know if it has a name, but those people do those like pixel art, like just vibe pictures where it's like a street, and the only like animation is the street light changing, and it's all done in like pixel art.
Oh, like the girl, like the lo-fi beats girl, sitting there studying.
Yeah,
like
that sort of stuff. Like that, and the whole art for this game is kind of in that. It's kind of this pixel mood. Not all of it's meant to be relaxing. Sometimes it's meant to be unsettling and stuff like that. But all the art for this game is like that. And it's got a really cool look. It's got kind of a unsettling but good soundtrack. Like, it does a good job of just making you feel uncomfortable at times, but I think you're supposed to. So I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. It's very similar to Citizen Sleeper in that the gameplay loop for it is like progressing through a story, but I would say it's a little bit. In some ways, it's more of a game than Citizen Sleeper, and in other ways, you know, there's things Citizen Sleeper does with timers that feels a little more gamey, maybe. But this is definitely like, you're constructing a story, you're finding out about the story, but every now and then there'll be like quick time event equivalents. It's not exactly what you would expect from a quick time event, but similar, where it's like, hey, press this at the right time to do this in the story, and it can kind of impact what would be your dice rolls otherwise. So there was a guy that I had a chance to get in a fight with, and I think that fight could have gone really bad if I wasn't doing good on my button presses in a battle against him.
Right.
So I think you can somewhat supplant bad dice rolls with, you know, some actual gameplay type mechanics and stuff like that. But it's telling this like quasi-futuristic story. Like, at first I thought it was pretty grounded, but like alternate history, because it's talking about like wars in America and stuff like that did not happen. So I was like, okay, well, it's an alternate history take, and then all of a sudden I ran into a damn android, and I was like, oh, we're dealing with some high tech business in here as well. So it's not just that it's kind of alternate history, but you're also dealing with some sci-fi elements mixed in as well. It feels like you're kind of unraveling a mystery as it goes. I'm still pretty early. It's about you going back home. Your mother has died, and it's kind of going back to try and put your affairs in order, but you start to find out that maybe there was more to your mother's death than simply her dying of an illness, that maybe there's some other things wrapped up in it. And it goes so far as to start getting into cults and corporation interference and what it's like to know too much and what to do with that information. And it's an interesting story that takes a little bit to build up, but I'm really digging it, and it has a real vibe to it.
Yeah, a lot of people gave this, you know, in their top games of the year, different sources did at the end of the year, and I kept meaning to play it. It's been on Game Pass since like day one, so I had no reason not to play it. And I just haven't gotten around to it, but it's installed and I'm very interested. I mean, would you say, or is this too simple to say it is a point and click adventure heavy on narrative? Is that fair?
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it.
Okay. Well, I'm into that. So looks like a lot of reading, but I'll get in the mood, for the reading.
Yeah. And a lot of it feels like, so they do a thing called like the brain web or the brain map or something like that. And it kind of helps keep track of things so you don't have to invest quite so heavily into all the reading necessarily. As you learn details, you can click on your portrait and go to this brain web, and you can just click on a portrait. So you can click on like your brother, and it'll be like, hey, here's Blake, and here's what I know about Blake, and you can recall information that you've learned about him, and it will also kind of keep track of things you're doing in concordance with that character. But then it also shows branches on how it connects to other characters in the story, and it's actually a very complicated system that they do a really good job with the UI in containing all that information and making it readable. And it really helps. Like, this is a game where I haven't played it in a while. Like, I played it early in the week and haven't been back to it. And because of how intuitive that is, I don't think I'll be lost when I go back to the story, which happens a lot with point and click adventure games.
Oh, that's interesting. That's unique. Yeah. Cause that happens to me. If I don't go all the way through, it's kind of a bummer. I can't do it because I'll be like, what was I doing? Who was this guy? I don't remember this. So that's nice. That's really cool. All right.
Interesting.
Been
all
wanting
right,
to play
would
that.
You give it a recommend or?
Yeah, I mean, especially if you have Game Pass and you can play it for free. I mean, that's a no-brainer. But I think I actually bought this on Steam because it was on sale, and this seemed right up my alley. And so far, it has been. It's been really, really cool.
Yeah.
So that's Norco.
Norco, all caps. Is that short for something in the game, or does that give anything away?
I think that's the corporation in the game.
Okay.
If I remember correctly.
So it's not like don't be a Norco.
All right. It's a misspelling. It's a typo. It's supposed to be narco. So there's that. Or maybe it's corpo, but they spelled it Norco. Wait, that would be Corco. Never mind. It's definitely not Corco.
Yeah, it's something.
Once again, blowing our minds in Vampire Survivors. You're 100% achievements again, even with the new DLC. I guess you're just going to keep that thing always on its toes.
How many hours are you in this game now?
Yeah.
I'm 90 hours into Vampire Survivors.
I feel like you play Vampire Survivors about as much as you play Final Fantasy XIV.
Feels like it.
Sometimes. I mean, it depends on what I'm doing. Like,
it's not a criticism. I'm just saying
it's good. Turns out Vampire Survivors is a really good game. Yeah, it is my go-to game when, again, I've said this many times about this game. It's why I like it. When I want to be more invested in something else, but I want to be busy, quote unquote busy, doing something at the same time, Vampire Survivors is great for that because I don't have to be so focused on the game that I will lose track of what I'm watching, be that a movie. I've been going through Andor, Vampire Survivors is great for Andor because I want to give Andor a lot of attention, and Vampire Survivors is great for that. Whereas if I'm doing something else, if I was playing Norco or something, I'd never be paying attention to what's on the second screen. So that's what this game is great for. But honestly, that DLC is really solid. Like, the stuff they added to the game is really cool weapons, really cool mechanics. Some really neat things that they've added into the game. I think the DLC is definitely worth the $4 or whatever it costs to get that.
By the way, we have a hero celebrity in the chat. We got Trixler here. How's it going, Tim? Good to see you. And he recommends.
Why'd you pick
I
that?
don't know why I picked. I was trying to find like a or something, but I couldn't.
That's now the official.
There it is. Trixler music. Trixler's in the chat, everybody.
Well, that was not my. Well, I just want to say he mentions that there's an integration, the Twitch integration.
Oh, with
I haven't done
play it
that
on
yet.
stream.
I haven't done it yet.
What does it do? Does it do people launch waves at him with text commands and stuff?
I'm sure they're not going to do anything to help you. Maybe they will. Maybe they would be kind. But I'm I've seen Bo get killed by his Twitch chat before. I know the way
Well, that's
they
Disco
tend to go.
Elysium. That's a feature for that game.
That's true.
They
I
enjoy
accidentally
killing.
helped in that vote, but
You did?
Are you playing it on stream much, or
I
is it just a one-handed warrior with the Steam Deck kind of deal?
yeah. Well, just I feel like you're baiting me, but yeah, it's been basically just one-handed warrioring.
I am most definitely not baiting you.
I mean, it is a one-handed experience.
No,
Yeah,
but I
well,
mean, you can,
It's a single thumb experience.
you can make craft dinner with the other hand. You got to cook dinner for the kids, like burgers and craft dinner. You can do that one-handed.
Yeah, that's true.
While you're playing Vampire Survivors. I know I've cooked dinners playing Snap. Snap is a dinner cooking friendly game, and Vampire Survivors seems like it could be as well.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely it is. It's the game whenever you sit down and you've got like video game choice paralysis, you're like, "Oh my gosh, we live in an age of abundance. What am I going to pick? What am I going to play?" Vampire Survivors is such an easy pick. It's like the let's order out or, let's go through the drive-through of video games. It's just the easy choice. You're gonna have a good time. You don't have to get too invested in it. You don't have to get good. You just play it. It's just gonna be fun. It's gonna be comfortable. It's phenomenal, and the DLC is great. Everybody should get the DLC too.
Well, that is the truth. It's a great game. You're not wrong. It's not quite. Well, never mind. I don't want to start that beef again.
No, it's better.
I know.
No, let's not bring up Soulstone Survivors.
I like Soulstone Survivors a lot. All right. Although I have to say I didn't like having everything covered in snowmen in their last event. It's fine that they have events, but actually I found a way to turn it off. Never mind. No more complaining. It's good. It's fine. Bo, let's get
before we get to me, John and I
bout of outrage ever.
John and I have a shared game before we just get to
Oh shit, I'm sorry. I skipped that. I didn't mean to do that. Yeah,
no, it's okay because we can bring it here now. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did you play Death Stranding recently?
Not this week.
I thought
played
we
it
both
a couple
played it this
weeks
week.
ago.
Okay, so you just dropped in my chat. So I tried Death Stranding on stream this week for 2 hours.
How'd it go?
He played it probably for about
10
10
was
minutes.
basically
That's
watching.
as long as he played.
No, it's 2 hours, but the actual play time was probably 10 minutes. It's like I watched a movie. So I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to play it another time before I elaborate on it. But I can tell everyone now, you're in for 2 hours of pretty much watching cinematics for the first 2 hours. I can promise you that.
That is a
Kojima.
Kojima. Why doesn't Kojima just make movies? He clearly that's what he'd prefer
he is going
to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's not a
he's working on
bad
it.
thing. The game may be good. I just haven't really tasted too much of the game. I climbed up a few ladders. I went pee. And stumbled in water, and that's about as much gameplay as I got.
So
I carried
just
a dead body
just
on my
core
back.
prep. You did core prep. That's what you did. That's all.
Yeah, but I thought maybe you had played it this week, so both of our reactions would be fresh. But I was playing action games, so I was a little frustrated when I booted that up and didn't do anything for 2 hours. I'm just watching a movie. It's all right, like it's good, but yeah.
Do they explain the baby thing in that game? In the beginning, I mean,
I'm sure at
The
some
word
point,
"explain" is a looser definition in this reality than in our reality. So
Okay.
things get explained, but they still don't make sense. And there was someone who said they were a chemist in my Twitch chat saying this game is like triggering me because they're using words wrong. Like they talk about chirality, and he's like, that's not what chiral doesn't mean that. It's Star Trek. This is not. They just use sci-fi terms and science terms willy-nilly to explain bullshit like time rain, which I actually kind of appreciate. There's rain that makes you old.
yeah.
And I don't know how you can tell the difference, except people freak out when there's rainbows. They're like, shit, a rainbow! And they start freaking the hell out, which is kind of funny, actually.
Yeah, that's the most Kojima thing I've heard.
I'm liking it. I just was mad that I didn't play anything for 2 damn hours.
Yeah.
But there you go. It's so far so good. But let me play it a bit more, and I'll get back to everyone.
All right. I'm very
I
curious
thought
about
John played it, so I just thought we both have something to talk
no,
about.
I played it a few weeks before, and then I
Alright.
saw you were gonna play it, and I was like, I gotta see what Bo thinks of this, because he would be going through the same stuff I went through, and
Too early to judge. Some stuff giving me don't like, but some stuff pretty cool. A lot
All
of
right.
production value. So.
Well,
All right, let's move on to what I actually played for most of this past week.
Yeah.
There was a sale on Steam, Borderlands 2 VR. I was
Oh.
like, what? This exists? Insta-purchased and lost 2 days to it. Okay, so it's a bad port, all right? Skyrim VR, Fallout VR levels. It's a bad port. Like, do not go in here expecting interesting controls or interesting thing. They just literally did the bare minimum in terms of making sure you could shoot a gun and use your floaty hands. They also didn't add multiplayer to the damn thing. The idiots. Like, it's Borderlands. Like, I want to play with friends. This would actually be something I could rope people into. It was on sale for $20. I could buy my friends a copy and just get them to even play for an afternoon. Because you will find, interestingly enough, that in spite of the misgivings, there are people who really, really like this game. And for good reason. It's the whole age-old port issue. You buy games made for the VR experience, and they're great, but they're short or lack AAA, production value, even if it's 10-year-old production value. This is a fully realized game with all the DLC, all the stuff, all the characters, blah, 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 you name it. And, I mean, I played a ton of Borderlands 2, so coming back to this was a nostalgia trip, but to play it in 3D was awesome. You can't two-hand guns. You just put your controller out and shoot the guns, and zooming in is really weird. You get a little screen that pops up, and because your hands are shaky, it's actually hard to aim.
Yeah, that was weird. I could see it in your video.
But when you run up to people with a shotgun and you blow them apart and a cloud of blood emerges and they go flying, it is extremely, extremely satisfying. And the game features a new ability on all characters where you can just go into BAMF mode, which is slow motion. So you'll shoot someone with a shotgun and they'll go, and all this blood and limbs and guns and loot will fly. Like, I'm looting in the air as the slow motion loot's popping up. Like, yoink, yoink, yoink. I want that. The 3D aspect of this game, because it's kind of bombastic and stuff blows up, really good. The boner farts, aka the bullywongs. That's a quest. This is Borderlands. Welcome to Borderlands humor. They jump at you and they feel really massive. These giant gorilla yeti creatures jumping at you, and you're like, oh shit. And it's the full game, bad jokes and everything. You've just got to embrace it. The Borderlands 2 for me is probably a high mark in the series, although I think 3 is very good. But I was surprised. I didn't know this existed. I was like, holy crap. And I got it on sale for $20. I think it's on sale till January 17th. Again, not mind-blowing VR stuff, but enough of a port that if you liked the game, this will be of great novelty to you. I just wish it had multiplayer. I just wish it had. I want a friend in there. I don't care if they look goofy and they don't do a good job of making your teammates look good. Like, if it's all just bendy and weird. I kind of want to play with other people because it feels a little lonely, but it's good.
I didn't even know this existed. This wasn't
like
the game.
This game is so bad. It's not even designed for Quest 2. If you watch the gameplay you're showing, the UI's broken. Like, it's all there, but it's jumbled. It's super jumbled. The aiming reticle, you have to turn it off because it's wrong. It doesn't like, it is janky as shit, and yet it's one of my favorite experiences because it is a full game, with the voice acting, with the production value and the fun loop that Borderlands 2 has, which is blow shit up, get new guns, blow up more shit, go down a skill tree. I had been kind of playing a lot of different games, not finding the one that clicked for me. And when I played this, I was like, this is what I'm looking for. I need something Diablo-like, not necessarily an ARPG, but something that has loot and progression and just easy action. And this game made a lot of sense. I lost 2 days. When I finished my second stream, my face had like a permanent imprint where the headset was. And like it took an hour for it to, when you, like, your socks, you have too tight socks on, you get those marks, or like underwear. Yeah. So I had like that mark on my face after playing. It was, and what's nice about it is when they do ports, you still have to use a controller. So this, at least you do have your hands free and you can kind of shoot like a badass with a real gun. Sure. Just don't expect to do any sniper rifling because that kind of precision aiming it's not well supported with any aim assist in this game, and it's just pretty hard. So
Sure.
yeah,
Well, I played a lot of 2.
Loved it.
Is it so? This is a separate thing, though. You can't just get this as an add-on to your existing Borderlands 2. It's a whole
but
purchase.
it's a one purchase deal. You don't have to buy DLC. All the DLC and bullshit's included.
Okay.
It's a free DLC that you have to install to get the rest of it.
Yeah.
Normally $60-$70, so it's on sale for 20 Canadian. It might be less for you. I jumped on this, and a lot of it was nostalgic a trip, which, by the way, some of the soundtrack in this Borderlands 2 is super good. And I incidentally found out, we were talking about Jasper Kidd with Dark Tide. He worked on the tracks.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, no wonder they're so damn good. Like, Borderlands 2 is some of the title screen, or the main menu screen. It's so dope. There's this harmonica sound in some of these open desert areas. It's amazing. And just nostalgia, man, just like soaking it all in.
That's great.
And we showed this on the video. One last thing, those flying things, like the driving, the driving's kind of bad in Borderlands. It is amazing in VR because it's pretty easy to control. You just push up and the direction you're facing it goes, right?
Yeah.
So and when you shoot the vehicles or the planes, they have it in such a way that guys fall off of it. And in VR, when you're chasing a vehicle and a guy flies in the air going, "Ah!" like flying by, it gives you the real like Mad Max experience of blowing people off the car and seeing things go flying, or a plane explodes and 3 dudes just fall to their death right around you. And it's like there's an energy to it that is awesome, that really breathes new life into this older title. Love it.
That's great.
I have a special request that's somewhat related to this topic.
Go.
Jamie, I know you're listening.
Yeah.
Your mashups are great.
We are.
Can we get a mashup of Bo throughout the history of the show? I know I'm asking for a lot. Pitched down so he sounds like he's being interviewed by the FBI and hiding his identity.
Yeah.
Describing the way he kills people in VR.
Oh,
like a
man.
secret homicidal maniac.
Just all the ways he's described death in VR and how much he likes it. Just
Murder and
that.
killing is just so much better in VR. Like, absolutely. It really is. Like, pretend killing and murdering in a video game. It's so cool.
Well, that's great. I'm happy to hear that is as fun as it is, even though clearly it's janky.
Expect jank.
Yeah.
A big warning label. But if you're a VR enthusiast, you kind of, I feel at this point you're already in to try things that are going to be a waste of money. Like, it happens. It's not a settled. It's a frontier, and sometimes you spend money on things that aren't that hot. But
Sure.
if you like VR, you like Borderlands, this is a no-brainer. Borderlands 2 got me thinking, I haven't played Borderlands 3. I bought it like years ago and haven't touched it. Never. Like, I should play it because I'm really enjoying Borderlands 2. So I've lost 2 more days to Borderlands 3.
I like Borderlands 3. 3 is very good.
3, having just played 2, 3 improves on the gameplay incredibly. You can do sliding, there's mantling. The guns are like super responsive. The sound of the guns in Borderlands 2 is pretty toy gun sounding. In 3, they make everything sound like in sci-fi. They got some real wild guns in Borderlands 3 too. That, like, I have a sniper rifle that when it hits somebody, it shoots 3 rockets up into the air, and the rockets come down and explode everywhere. Like, there are just some like preposterous ass guns in Borderlands 3, and again, I think the sale is also happening for Borderlands 3. All the expansion content's heavily discounted. I think there's a single click buy for everything. I'm enjoying the hell out of Borderlands 3 at the moment, and
I think it
I'd like to
improved.
play with
You're
some
right
people,
about the
'cause
game
again-
type, or the gameplay has improved massively. The writing maybe took a dip. It's not amazing.
Yeah, that's the overall consensus, is that like Borderlands 3, I think it's, they're going to other planets. There's some good stuff in there. There's Bo's Burgers, which I like way better than Bo's Afraid. There's a whole quest where a guy named Bo just wants to serve burgers, so you help him get burgers.
Sure.
They also make a few cracks at podcasters that I thought was pretty funny too. I can't remember them exactly, but at one point there's some guy who wants to be a podcaster or something.
Yeah.
Claptrap's got to help him out. There's still some funny bits in there. I would say it's like It's a little more toned down. I think because Handsome Jack is a pretty memorable villain, and the Calypso twins, they're all right, but they're not really cutting it.
They're just playing.
I don't know.
They're doing this
it's
tried
Borderlands.
thing.
I'm not here for the story.
No, I know.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I'm cool with it.
That's
Honestly,
my take as well. Yeah.
And I did chuckle at a few, but it's not. It's not like. I think Borderlands 2 is not that funny, but Crofton finds the humor very funny, and that makes me want to laugh more because he will something immature will just make him laugh, and then I'll find it funny that he thinks it's funny, and then it'll end up being funnier. And so Borderlands 2, the Borderlands series does have that fertile ground. If you have an immature friend that can't help but laugh at these things, it increases the enjoyment of it. Anyways, Borderlands 3 is a real winner. I'm playing both. It's a Borderlands week this week.
Nice. No. Borderlands for all, I always say. Well, excellent. You're making. I
got one more on.
Oh yeah. I want to hear about this one, even though it's VR again. John, Jesus might weep again. I really want to hear about.
It's a both game. It's a non-VR game and VR game has VR support. It's a little game called Thumper. In both versions, you play as a beetle of some kind, a space lasery beetle.
Yeah.
And you're down basically a Hot Wheels track.
Yeah.
And you don't make any decisions. You go down the track. And it's kind of a rhythm game, but you're in this weird art graphic zone. It's not space. It's not a planet. It's just an abstract. It's meant to be trippy.
It's
right?
a Trapper Keeper.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure what that means, but
yeah, Canada.
That's fine. That. Scott got it. It's fine. We can just keep going.
American Trapper Keepers. It's part of it's ingrained in our soul.
Yeah. So, but basically, the idea is it's a rhythm game, but it's not like music rhythm. It's like the game will provide you with audio cues, and then you have to do sort of timing to the beat on the things it asks of you. The controls so far are left, right, and the A button, and the bumper when you have to go through long turns. But man, does it get it gets complicated, and there's bosses that appear at the end of the thing, and you got to throw bombs back at them by doing the thing right. And they blow up. The game's pretty great looking on a flat screen, but in VR, oh man, it's real trippy.
It looks like a kind of game that would have 12 seizure warnings before you put that headset on.
Yes, absolutely. This is one of those. We're not, not friendly for anybody with epilepsy, I guess you could say.
Sure.
So, but it was a fun experience. I just wanted to log in to play, just try it out for 10 minutes. I was on my couch for 3 hours. I was 3 hours went by. I was like, holy shit. Just getting mesmerized in this track. It looks pretty sick in VR. And in VR, it looks the exact same way. I guess you just see the beetle in front of you and you play the game. And it's a perfect example of a VR experience that is awesome, but you don't have to stand up and swing around, break a sweat. It's a fun, I can sit down and play a trippy game. It's pretty dope, and it's not an expensive game. If you wait for a sale, even it's I think I got it for $10.
Yeah. This thing's on everything. This came out in 2016 originally, and it was a Windows PlayStation 4 thing, then Oculus, then HTC Vive, then PlayStation VR headsets, then the Switch got a version, Xbox One got a version. I think phones have it. iOS and Android have it. It's weird how far Thumper's reach went. It was I think
it's a simple game that looks gorgeous, so I think probably gets sales based on how it looks. Reminds
me of Rez. Cool. Would you compare it? Remember Rez? Did you ever play that?
No, Rez missed me.
Old Dreamcast game turned.
I kind of remember what it looks like. Rez is a trippy game, right?
Rez is very. It's always whenever I see screens of this, I always think of Rez for some reason, but.
Yeah, this is more just like a rhythm game. You'll want to pay attention to the audio cues as well as visual cues, and it's meant to be trippy and sort of horrifying, but also beautiful at the same time. I guess it's really cool.
Chat says it's a lot like audio. What is it?
Audio surf.
Audio surf.
Yeah, play a lot of audio surf.
Similar type game. Yeah.
It's and on the VR side of things, when you go into that weird tunnel and everything's a triangle now, it's pretty trippy in VR. You're just whoa.
Did you ever? Okay. Did you feel like you couldn't be in there very long, just from a comfort level?
No? That was a comment I got with Borderlands 2 VR because in that game, there's a lot of jumping. Like I'm constantly jumping, dodging, spinning around, and people. There was a few people in chat who were like, I don't know how you can. How do you play this? Like, what training do you do to play this in VR without getting sick? And I'm like, I get zero sickness. If I watch like a video on a roller coaster, I might feel some like butterflies in my stomach because I'm getting fooled into thinking I'm about to drop.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I get no sickness, and I'm pretty like level-headed. Just
That's great.
Going through the craziest shit. Because Star Wars Squadrons is kind of the same thing with that 6 degrees of freedom on flying ships. But
Sure.
anyways, Thumper, that's a good VR game.
That seems all right to me. All right. Well, speaking of thumpers, not really. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to do a Dear Martha. We got a magazine
I'll go
review
drop
for
a
you.
Thumper in the gravity well.
Yep, that's right. And we got some other news, some other cool stuff. So come back, won't you? We will be back in 5 or so. We'll see you
All
then.
right.
All right, let me pause this.
My kids need braces, so
Oh, geez. It's so expensive.
John
She
needs
knows-
help. John
knows-
needs lots of help.
John's taking care of business. I assume she only hears about how I've shit in the
away.
forest. And eat burgers and bushes. And
Oh, you
et
have no
cetera.
idea. I haven't even told you. There's something very cool about lake runs coming. I haven't told you about it. I'll tell you later once I've got. Well, I'll show it to you before I tell you, because then you'll be more into it.
Nah, don't pull a Johnson. Let's surprise me. It's enough.
All right, I'll surprise you. I'll
Yeah,
surprise you.
I'm looking forward to it now.
Good. Well, we're back,
Cigarette,
everybody.
don't make
I-
me sad. Don't say things like, wait, you have to pay for kids' braces in America. Yes, and it's a shocking amount of money.
Do they not do braces not braces in other lands, other realms, do they not have to pay for their kids' braces?
I think
Is
it
that,
depends on your health coverage.
so like Bo, if you had to go get braces, will they cover it?
I think I'd have to pay for braces in Canada. Hang on.
Yeah, because I don't think that's true. Just everywhere in the world pays for all the braces for kids. I don't think that's a thing.
Braces are
Some
usually
places
covered at
maybe,
50% through dental insurance contracts, according to Canadian Association of Orthodontics.
Well,
So
for us, it is covered at 0%. We have to pay for the entire thing, and
Yep.
for a couple pieces of metal on teeth,
Yeah,
it is very expensive.
it's very expensive. I did the same for my kids. I hated it. I think they'll never truly appreciate what we did for them and how much money we sacrificed for all 3 of them. There's a reason my parents didn't get me braces. It wasn't because I didn't need them. It's because they were cheap. All right. We're back. Let's get to it. Where the frickin' hell were we? Oh, it's time for Dear Martha. A chance for us to review an old ancient video game magazine with John, and they're always fantastic. Today's a little different, though. Do you want to explain this at all, or are we just going for it?
No, they'll figure it out.
Okay.
You just needed to know it was different. They'll
All right.
figure it
I
out.
like that a lot. Here we go. Let's see if you can tell the difference immediately here, everybody. Ooh.
My dearest Martha, enough of these common gaming magazines. Perhaps they satisfy the idle musings of the simple-minded gamers among us, but the time has come for something a bit more sophisticated. A gaming magazine for the elite and well-informed. A gaming magazine above the rabble that frequents the pages of GamePro or Electronic Gaming Monthly. A gaming magazine that values the space between your ears instead of filling it with refuse. I'm speaking, of course, of Intelligent Gamer magazine, the premiere issue from June of 1996.
Oh, no.
This magazine is the future, Martha. Inside, you'll find a repository of the most intelligent of video game discussion. Not just from the talented staff, but we bring in a higher caliber of reader as well. Just listen to some of these letters from the brilliant readership of Intelligent Gamer. Hans I wrote in, dropping the hot knowledge bomb that is the simple fact that the video game Knights would be better than Super Mario 64. You won't hear that truth in Nintendo Power, I'll tell you that much. Or the next letter from Frank P., who wrote in to predict the long-term success of this very fine magazine. Well, it certainly won't be dead in under a year, Frank. You can count on that. Still doubt me? How about a letter from Dan J., wondering if anything is going to stop Sega from taking over the video game world? I'd say the sky's the limit, Dan, but they just released the Saturn, so limitless is the answer there. But it's not just these readers that make up the Intelligent Gamer magazine. We boast more text per page than any other magazine out there. Are our screenshots small and hard to see? Sure. But you won't care when you are reading our wonderful articles about the latest version of B-Render 3D software engines, import games being sold in United States stores, gaming life in Japan, or a hot text write-up on Simcopter. Now, of course, all this intelligence will still need to pay the bills, so ads are a necessary evil. But there are some real choices in this issue. One I won't even send you, because to show it, I would have to provide a trigger warning, as kids today call it. Let's just say it's an ad for a game development company recruiting on the premise of, hey, instead of ending it all, why don't you come work for us? I'm serious. That's the ad. But the ad I will supply is a rather notorious one for the Sega Saturn. It features an illustrated nude woman, conveniently covered by Sega Saturn screenshots, and then boldly proclaiming, in case you didn't notice, there is a beautiful naked woman on this page. And maybe even more boldly, when you've got Sega Saturn's triple 32-bit processing power, nothing else matters. It's the epitome of gaming ads in the late 90s, I think. Anyway, you're welcome for the sophistication of this segment, and that it is brought to your mundane lives today. May we look forward to many more years surrounded by intelligent gamers. Yours in time, S. Beckett 96.
I thought there was one more. But
Did you enjoy doing that, Scott?
I did enjoy that. I like it.
There's a Maestro VR game. Have you heard of this?
No. Oh my gosh, no. Jesus,
we won't get into it, but let me just toss that idea.
Is that what you do? You do a lot of this?
Yeah, that's the game. You have to learn to conduct an actual orchestra.
Is it basically like a rhythm game, kind of, just with a twist? You know what I mean?
I don't know. I have it. I think I played a bit of it. It was very hard. No, you got to do real Maestro stuff, like the actual whatever the movements mean that they do.
I don't know.
I haven't gotten back to it. But I want to say that was excellent, John.
Yeah, I agree.
It was very well done. And boy, oh boy, would S. Beckett, if he's still alive today, not be happy with intelligent gamers in 2023. Can you imagine what that magazine would be today?
Oh my gosh, dude.
Now, I will say, perhaps I was being genuine. I feel like it does need to come with a trigger warning. Scott, it is up to you. I did send you the ad that was discussed but not shown during the course of it.
Yeah, it's just...
If you want to show them, it is a genuinely shocking ad that somebody put together.
Yeah, and keep in mind, this was in a magazine you could buy on a shelf. This isn't some hidden document that's like super secret or, whatever. So I'm not showing anything too crazy, but I feel like they have a very low bar for how rough someone who is suicidal, how rough it is on them. You know what I'm saying?
But not even that. They've got a very low opinion of what it's like to come work for them.
Yeah.
Because their ad basically is like, you could kill yourself.
Yeah. So basically here it is.
But what if instead you came to work for us?
So it's literally somebody with I don't know why they got a bag over their head. Anyway, they're tied up.
That's executed.
So they're standing on a stool.
You don't need those extra steps of binding your hands and putting a bag over your head.
Yeah, it's a little weird, but it says that image and then says, or they don't have other text, or come hang with us. And then they talk about, let's see, if you're thinking of ending your current situation, come talk to us. We're building a team of talented people who are focused on creating games that people, this is a little blurry, can't get enough of. Boss Game Studios, the new offspring of the Academy Award-winning Hollywood special effects studio, and we need artists with at least 2 years of experience, 3D modelers, blah, 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 blah. Recruiters need not bother, it says at the bottom, so they can go ahead and just end their lives, I suppose.
And the email, which I don't know if it's still working, noose@sega.com. at bossgame.com.
Are you kidding?
You're gonna send your CV to Noose. Like, somebody thought this was funny and really didn't. It was not. Nobody told them, like, dude.
Yeah.
They really decided to, and I apologize for the pun, hang their identity on this in a big way.
And,
like,
what would happen to the people rejected?
Yeah, no kidding.
Like, if that's the pool you're hiring from, you're gonna hire 2 people, and the hundreds of other ones, they just got rejected.
Well,
they made Top Gear
essentially
Rally.
done
Man,
hard.
I loved Top Gear Rally.
Top Gear Rally was awesome.
I'll say this. Their advertisement's not very good. Top Gear Rally, super good game.
Unbelievably good game. World Driver Championship is also very good. They made 2 games. Well, they made more than that, but that was the 2 games they were known for. They were founded in 1994. They ran this ad in 1996. They went defunct June 14th, 2002. They no longer exist. So,
and we're not going to make the joke.
No, we're not. We're not.
Why they don't exist anymore? But
no,
it's the chat Slam says suicide was popularized in the 90s. I'm not sure what that means.
We
but
know it was supposed to be funny. It's not lost on us that they think it's funny.
Oh, they think it's hilarious.
You couldn't run that ad today.
No,
I just don't know if it was funny back then either.
I think the gaming world was
I guess I could.
smaller.
If I was a kid, I'd be like, inappropriate thing. I love it, but like.
Well, that's what it is, right? It's inappropriate, and people like that when they're at that age of everything's funny if it's inappropriate.
Everything's edgy, yeah. Like again, yeah.
They also made a game called.
They want a professional with tons of experience doing stuff. You don't want to hire an 18-year-old.
No.
I don't know, man.
They did make they made a snowboarding game called Twisted Edge Extreme Snowboarding. I remember liking that. Okay, that was all right. If you like snowboarding games, it was no 1080. But it was all right. Okay, well, there you go. Great one.
John.
I like John's posh voice. I hope more of that guy comes out.
Yeah, I like the intelligent. I like this like butthole magazine guy. It's pretty great.
I like this butthole. All right, let's move on.
Man, you're gonna be so glad that you said that so perfectly into the microphone, and we left a lot of blank air on both sides of it. It'll never be abused, Scott. Don't worry about it.
I'm sure not. Let's move on then to some other news.
I'm laughing ahead of time thinking about what it sounds like.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm sure Jamie is already on the case. That's what he does. A couple things going on. Last of Us TV show got a really solid premiere date, early premiere reviews. So the people that got to see the early Hollywood premiere thing. It airs first episode this Sunday, a couple days from now on HBO Max. And Rotten Tomatoes already has it at like 98%. I think that thing is going to be good.
Yeah. Sounds like it. Sounds like it does a very good job of adapting that story into a new medium and doing some new stuff, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah. Did you guys know that when we knew Neil Druckmann was involved, the creator of the game series for Naughty Dog, but he and Craig Mazin, who are creators and writers, but did you know that Nick Offerman was in this? I didn't know that.
Yes. Yeah.
He plays Bill.
He plays Bill. And I'm excited to see what they do with him. I love the actor who played Bill in The Last of Us. So do you, Scott, even if you don't remember who he is.
I don't remember, but
you remember the bouncer at Swearingen's Bar in Deadwood?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was Bill in the original.
Okay.
And he did an amazing job. He was fantastic in that. And there was a part of me that was sad to see he was not going to be playing the role for the TV show, but Nick Offerman is awesome in literally everything I've ever seen him in.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be more excited to see what they do with him.
The current word is also that our 2 leads here, Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey, are both extremely good in their roles, and I'm super stoked. I can't wait to see it.
I hope this does extremely well. And I hope it launches a trend of video game story adaptations getting proper time, money, and medium to be told.
Agreed. So watch for that. More on that this weekend. We'll all probably watch it and have something to say next week. So watch for that. Let's see. Sony showed off Project, or as someone wrote here, Sant, but I think it meant Sant. Sony. Showed off Project Leonardo. This is a robot that looks like Leonardo DiCaprio and can act as well as he does. No, I'm sorry. I've been told it's wrong. It's a controller.
Bo, I just saw him click something open so fast. I've never seen Bo go from passive to interested faster than when he believed you for a hot second that's what this was.
Yep, you got me, Scott.
That was great.
I watched the monitor glow on his face just light up the second you said. He was like, "Excuse me."
It was like a flash of dawning that happened over there. But anyway, this is a controller aimed at aiding gamers with limited motor function. I would say this is in the vein of what Microsoft does with their stuff as well. There's a real push toward accessibility, and I think this is great that Sony's doing that. Let me get it up here so people can see it. There we go. Pretty crazy awesome looking, but the Microsoft one is also very crazy looking. But what I think is interesting is how they really adhered to the PS5 white controller aesthetic for this. It almost looks
apparently you can combine it with a default controller. You can use two of them. There's a lot of compatibility, side compatibility, and changes you can make based on what your needs are. It's just cool finding. This is gonna sound weird. This isn't the point of this. This is for people that already play games. But I'm not kidding when I say when I was younger, and I was first starting to get into video games, I had a genuine fear that something would happen and I would lose my thumbs or lose my hands or something, and I wouldn't be able to play video games anymore.
Yep.
I was genuinely worried about this. It was like quicksand and lava and something bad happening to my game playing hands. These were concerns. It does my heart good to see this sort of stuff coming out for people that do have special needs as far as accessibility of controllers, letting games get into more people's hands and be able to play them. This is awesome.
100%
really,
agree.
really cool.
I agree. It's a great initiative. I'm actually glad that Sony's fine. They were really slow on doing anything, and I know it's not meant to be a competitive market necessarily, but Microsoft's had their thing out for years now, and to see Sony follow suit is a really good sign. I hope more people do it. I hope we see more peripherals on PCs and other things. Handhelds could use a little love in this regard. I think it's really cool. So, I'd love to see Nintendo do a couple of, because Joy-Cons have this unique ability to slide off and be another thing, right? You can buy a GameCube style Joy-Con set. Literally, they look like two halves of a GameCube controller slid into your Switch for people that want to play Smash that way or whatever. I'd like to see Nintendo maybe make a couple of Joy-Cons that have this sort of thing in mind.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. I think that's rad. I'm all for this kind of thing. The Microsoft thing is, this looks kind of, I hate to say this way, because it's not really the intent, but Sony's thing is kind of sexy looking. And now I look at the adaptive Microsoft controller. It's fine, but it looks like it's like one of those fake drums. It just it's just kind of industrial, or it almost looks like a modded Series S or something. It's a weird design, but either way, I think it's cool that this stuff exists. I'm with John on that. That's very rad. Leonardo DiCaprio not at all connected with any of this, just for the record.
Sorry, Bo.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. That's totally fine.
All right, here's an interesting one, because I thought this already existed with MechWarrior 5, but a unofficial announcement of a standalone new MechWarrior game happened. When they say unofficial, I assume it's not whoever owns it. This is somebody else doing this?
It is officially unofficial. So basically, the president said yes, they're making it.
Right.
The company that's making it, but it's not their official announcement.
Okay, but they're working on a new MechWarrior game.
It's an official unofficial announcement, and an official announcement will come later.
Okay, well, I'm all in.
You don't hold them to it if it never comes to light.
Right,
he's just talking about what's in development.
They're getting you excited for a thing that may or may not happen. I'm a big MechWarrior fan. I like this stuff a lot. I have problems with 5. I would like them to fix. I don't know if this is really MechWarrior 6 or something altogether different. I've never played MechWarrior Online. It made me nervous as a free-to-play title. I don't know. All I could think of is all these little robot add-ons that are going to cost you money.
And do you pilot the mech solo? Because I think it would be so rad if the three of us could pilot a mech cooperatively.
Man, Well, it was always solo the way I played my Mech Warrior, but that doesn't mean they couldn't do something. That'd be amazing.
Like
I
one
agree.
person's the controller. We got a gunner, and then we got the guy that pours fuel into the fuel hole. Something like that, right?
Yeah, get Crofton. He'll do the fuel hole.
Oh, no, the three of us.
Oh, okay. No, that's fine. I'm just thinking Bo
we'll
driving.
Crofton in. He can do the fuel
You
hole.
driving, John on rockets, I'll be on railgun, and then we put Crofton on fuel hole. And then we got it. That's our team.
Love it.
Yeah, bring it on. I love giant robots, and I love the Mech Warrior franchise, and I would like more. So that'd be great. And finally, Yoshi P claims that Final Fantasy 14 is PS5.
Nope. Try again.
I'm sorry. Final Fantasy 16. Stupid Roman numerals.
You sure?
Yeah. Final Fantasy 16 is a PS5 exclusive, despite a lot of evidence otherwise.
Yeah.
John,
so in a recent interview, he basically said, like, hey guys, you need to buy a PS5 if you want to play Final Fantasy 16. I don't know. The exact quote is, nobody said a word about a PC version releasing. Why is it like a PC version is releasing 6 months later? Don't worry about that. Buy a PS5. Sorry, I went overboard. We did our best, so please look forward to it.
No, please don't commit seppuku for the comment.
And he's being a little tongue-in-cheek about it, but the reason everybody thinks there's going to be a PC version 6 months later is because originally, during the first announcement, it said that it was also coming out for PC. And then during a second announcement, it said system exclusivity for 6 months. So people put 2 and 2 together and said, well, I guess that probably means the PC version is coming 6 months later.
Well, not only that, but the 15 was on same deal. Is 6 months later came to PC. All the other Final Fantasy shit 6 months later to a year comes to PC. Why not? It's the mainline thing. Of course, it will come to PC.
The whole thing's predicated on it not happen. Like, you let the cat out of the bag as soon as you release everything you own on the PC client. People are smart, but sometimes they get press trained and they'll be like, don't talk about the version. Talk about the version that's available, not the version.
Yeah, I'm sure Sony is paying a lot of money for them to pretend like a PC version doesn't exist.
I'm sure you're right. Yeah. That's probably what
this is. So it probably ticks people off. If you were an ambassador for a brand and you knew the exclusivity was up 6 months later, you shouldn't come out when you're doing press to say, yeah, don't buy the PS5 version. If you like PC, wait for the PC version, which is what you and I would say. But, the shareholders will be like, why did they talk about reality in front of customers?
So I would say, despite their mixed messaging, if you are insanely excited for Final Fantasy 16 and it looks good, maybe buy a PS5 for it if it's worth it to you.
Yeah.
But if you would love a PC version, maybe give it 6 months and see what the situation in the world is.
Yeah, which will probably there'll be a PC version. So you'll be fine. By the way, have you heard
if you feel like you can wait 6 months, save a little money.
Yep.
Every month, and after 6 months, you can either buy it on the PC with a bunch left over, or buy a PS5 and then play it then.
There you go.
Or you can be like some of us and buy it in both places like an idiot.
Yeah, Bo will be on the hunt for a PS5 soon because
I own Final Fantasy VII Remake twice over. I don't know why, but I do.
Yeah, you did.
I do too.
So wait a minute. So let me ask this. Oh, I have 2 questions. First, have you heard my hot new joke about Mario? So Mario's got a big stain on his carpet. Where did that stain come from? Yoshi P. All right, moving on to the next thing. Ready to the next one? Sorry, okay. Had to get that out. The other thing was this Final Fantasy VII adjacent game that's now on PC called
Crisis Core.
I have to ask why, especially you, John, who's like the hardest of hardcore, and Bo for that matter, for 7. You guys love that world and love everything about it. Why have we never talked about Crisis Core?
I haven't played it yet. I bought it, but I haven't played it yet because I didn't know if I should stream it or not.
You do have it, though.
And I got should I stream it paralysis, where I don't play it by myself because I feel like I should stream it.
I know that feeling.
And I don't play it on stream because people are like, John, you're in the middle of playing Final Fantasy X. Will you please finish Final Fantasy X? But I don't feel like playing it right now.
Wow.
So
okay, no.
Yeah.
So
I know that feeling where you're like, let me wait and it'll be content.
But it's
then
on
you
your
end up
radar
playing it.
then. What was it? A PS1 game or what was it?
I believe it was a PSP game that has now been genuinely remastered into a full-fledged game.
All right, because I know I had a lot of fans. Yeah, PSP. I guess I did hear that.
I mean, I never played the original, and I don't know. Maybe I would.
The only thing I'm confused about, nobody said, sorry, Bo, is that it's a prequel, but is it a prequel? Because it's using the naming convention for the remake.
Yeah.
To a degree, at least. Is it a prequel to original Final Fantasy VII, or is it a prequel to the new remake of Final Fantasy VII?
Oh,
that's a good
interesting.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so for me, like the skip was just like, well, they broke remake 7 into 3 games. Like, that's plenty. I don't need a bonus one. If Final Fantasy VII was a standalone product and I wanted more, then I'd be like, oh, more, sweet. But it's 3 games already, so I'm like, eh.
This one reviewed well, so
as far as I heard, it's pretty good, and people have recommended it. So I don't know. But John makes a great point. Is it alternate universe? Because it really feels like we're going alternate universe with this remake for Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah,
but maybe that doesn't matter because the alternate universe doesn't kick in until the remake.
But I don't know. Spoilers. The main character of this new game is dead in one and alive in the other.
Whoa. Really?
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Well, then it will be all, well, I don't know, actually.
Oh, you're talking about Zack?
Yeah.
Okay.
Zack's dead? Zack's alive in this remake? I don't remember.
Yeah, they showed him at the end of remake. Like, that was the big tease at the end, was showing Zack show up at Midgar and still be alive.
Oh, I thought it was a flashback.
Was it a flashback? Shit, I don't know. That game's weird.
The game's a little weird with it. That's why I'm like, it's, that's why I'm releasing it over 3 games and then changing the story. I'm not the biggest fan of the change, I'll be honest. I would have preferred a straight remake, but it's still good, so I'm still in. But,
Did you guys see? So I have this friend, artist friend named Jeff Delgado. He used to work for South Park and has done just like amazing stuff. I meant to share this with you guys, but he did a Tifa piece that you just have to see. Hold on a second, because I know you guys are fans. Here, check this out.
I am a fan of Tifa.
Look at this thing. Oh, it's so good.
Oh, that is really good.
Isn't that great?
That's awesome.
Here, chat. He is really talented. And what's great about his work is, at a glance, you're like, oh man, that's totally whoever it's supposed to be. But if you get real up close on stuff, there's a simplicity to his technique. I just admire it so much. He's so great. Anyway, I think it was a commission for someone. They probably paid a pretty penny. PPP, Yoshi P. All right, moving on. Where are we now? That's it. That's all there was for that. Oh, what did I do? I messed something up on the way. Oh, there we go. We have what the frick happened? I effed up the page. Okay, we're okay. Everything's fine.
Just hit the undo button until it looks normal again.
Yeah, I think it's I think we're good now.
I think you dropped things in a weird spot, maybe.
I don't know what happened there. Yeah, it may not have been me. So, okay, here's the deal now. We usually do emails and texts and stuff right now, and that's true. We're still gonna. So I'll play this.
That's a good question.
But we're going to start with a voicemail. Someone left us a voicemail.
Sweet. Nice. I love it.
Very exciting. And you guys are encouraged to do this. It's the same number as the text. So use 801-471-0462. And if you want to just leave a voicemail, we'll play them here on the show as well.
The 10 hams line, if you need to reach us.
Yeah, the 10 hams.
10 hams.
Yeah, that 10 hams thing really took off last week. That's been a meme
People
all
enjoyed
week.
the show last week. We got a lot of compliments.
Last week was great. I had a good time. Oh, and our winner is so freaking thrilled about that computer. They're losing their minds. So,
that's awesome to hear. Couldn't happen to a better person.
Yeah, very happy for them. Although, shout out to John Pryor, CEO and founder of Doghouse Systems, who right around the time we gave away the machine ended up with some horrible butt flu and has been sick since. But he's fine now. He's good today. I don't know why I'm telling this. Why am I telling people this?
Wow.
He's I don't want it anymore.
I'm sure he's really excited that you decided to air his butt flu for the entire core audience. Really glad we're going to enjoy a long partnership with Doghouse Systems, Scott.
Yep.
Really hoping this might do some numbers for him and they'd be like, you know what? Bo and John should probably get to try our products.
Yeah.
Please pretend I don't own one. Right
Yeah,
over
please.
there already.
Yeah, let's just pretend.
Let's send him some products. But now we've aired the butt flu, and he's like,
yeah.
anything from me.
I mean, but look,
enough.
I just feel bad for him because it really wrecked him. And he's a good guy.
A nice guy. I will say this. This is not an ad. I genuinely do own a doghouse system.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I've bought 2 over the history of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And both times I got a personal email from John, the owner of the company, and he was very, very nice. And they were insanely amicable on this PC build because the one I currently have, I had a processor. And I was like, hey guys, I need a new computer, but I own a processor and I don't want to put it together. If I send you a processor, will you put it in my build for me? And they said yes.
Yeah. They're really
That's
cool
crazy.
that way.
Cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
It
they're
was
really
awesome.
good people that way. They're amazing people. Can't recommend it enough. And this is not an ad, but doghousesystems.com is where I would go if I were you at home.
It's kind of an ad.
It's a little bit, but
they
they're not
didn't
paying
pay
for
me to
one.
say that.
No, we just feel that way. And I hope his bum is better. All right, moving on. Here is that call from a listener, and this is about the D&D stuff last week. So, Bo, a chance to kind of catch up on that. Here you go.
Hey,
Oh,
Scott and Core crew, calling in Seattle, Washington. I was just calling in to talk about the open gaming license questions. I really hope that gets sorted out in a nice, clean, and efficient way for everyone involved, especially for all the creators and small to medium creators and players in the D&D world, because I work in software, and let me tell you something, software licensing has gone out of control. If there is a tool or a library that's free and open source that solves a problem for me to use, I have to go through 1, 2, 3 weeks, sometimes months of just lawyer cats looking over the licenses, looking over all of the dependencies of that tool and all of their licenses to make sure that everything is amazing. Doesn't matter how good the tool is, doesn't matter if it solves my problem perfectly or not. If it's not perfectly compliant, it is nope, we've got to build it ourselves. And it's just, it's a royal pain that slows everyone down. And I hope that level of quagmire doesn't make it into the game space. Love the show. Cheers.
All right. Yeah, I agree with the caller. I hope that's where things end up. But I guess you've been pouring over it, Bo. You probably have some new stuff, some new takes.
It's been top trending on Twitter all week.
Yeah.
This is a forest fire. And there has been some leaks today. An internal employee has said that this is basically the result of an investor call where the discussion was, this is a gaming property. Why aren't we monetizing like the rest of gaming? And they're like, yeah, why aren't we doing it? This is what we're doing. And everyone has to fall in line with it. So they've actively shown open contempt towards this thing that we all love. Like, I'm not expecting this to go very well. But I think they're probably going to go through some sort of revolt internally.
Well, they've
That's
already
happening.
encountered a few hiccups. One, they had an announcement that they were going to talk about the open gaming license that has now been delayed.
Yeah.
They've canceled it.
Yeah.
That's not them saying we're not doing it, but they were supposed to announce it. They canceled that. And the other big announcement that was today is, I'm not entirely sure how you say their name. Is it Paizo? Who does basically Pathfinder and Starfinder.
Oh, it's when
They
Mario
tweeted
says,
out
hey,
today-
Paisanos. Oh, no, it's not. That's not Paisanos.
Hey, Paisanos!
It's not
It's
that?
the Super Mario Brothers Super Show! That's
Damn
the
it.
best Mario.
Okay.
We have announced a plan for a system-neutral open RPG license in collaboration with other game companies. We believe it will irrevocably and unquestionably keep alive the spirit of the open game license. And so they're going after him. You know, we kind of said, what's Pathfinder's response going to be? There it is.
They're one of many. There's a number of Kobold Press, who is the top maker of supplements for 5e D&D, also going to publish a core system. Matt Colville, who's a DM of Subnote, as well, publishing his own system. There's a number of candidates. The problem with all this is fractured. Like, everyone is going to publish a rule system. They're underestimating what it means to have the mind share and the distribution that Hasbro does. So, good thing. The revolt is good, but, we'll see. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that D&D still won't be like the number one played tabletop game, because this doesn't affect people who just play the game, right?
Yeah.
This is just content creation. So I don't know.
Although I will say, and I tweeted this, and this is still shockingly true, there is pushback on this show that we get in various forms. For just about every word that comes out of our mouth, we have a contrarian ready to line up and argue anything we say.
Yep.
No matter how sound or formulated we may think it is, or on the opposite end of the spectrum. Someone's always ready to go, you idiots.
Yeah.
And while we may not have gotten all of our facts necessarily straight, nobody has pushed back on the general sentiment that this is a shitty, stupid move by Wizards of the Coast. I have never seen such uniform disdain for something than this, where everybody's like, no, yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
Definitely very vocal. And yes, you're absolutely right. There's no one not on this side of the issue. I think there was no one really on the side of the issue that, Diablo 3 should have an offline mode, even though some people were willing to accept it. There's been a lot of pushback against microtransactions.
Yeah.
Like, there's been a lot of pushback about a lot of things. I expect what they're doing is damage control to insist as politely as possible on the direction they're heading, and they've just got to circle the wagons, corporate style, till they move on. It's just unfortunate, but they can't help themselves. There's another game that these corporate overlords are playing called Money, and that's there's nothing that anyone's gonna say. Like, I expect they'll make modifications. I expect none of it will be. I think the damage is already done. So waiting around for Wizards to fix it, we can hope that something open source emerges that captures the mind share. A Critical Role would play a big part in this. They've been silent, but we know that it started as a Pathfinder game, and Matt Mercer's a smart guy when it comes to this kind of stuff. Maybe with the right kind of, like, D&D success, it's not a misattribution to say D&D success hinges predominantly on Critical Role for the past 5 to 10 years, or however long it's been running. They are single-handedly have kept that company in good reputational standing.
Not just that,
people
but
haven't
growth.
kissed at TSR and Wizards before,
Not just that, but growth. Growth. D&D's been fine, and it idles, and it's there, and it does its thing. But in the wake of Critical Role at the tip of the spear, and then everything that followed it, every little small show behind it, every little medium show behind it, that's meant big growth for them. I guarantee it. So now this is them just going, well, if we want to really explode, we need to monetize it. They're getting greedy.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just kind of impervious. None of us here are fans of Elon Musk. A lot of people aren't. Twitter's suffering, but it's going to be around. It's not that they're too big to fail. It's just that they're best in slot for what they do, and they're not going anywhere. And D&D is what the general public recognize. Like, I've had a lot of comments that are like, just play GURPS, just play this, just play that. I'm like, have you tried to talk people into playing other systems? Like, there are people I can talk to who might play a role-playing game with me who'll be like, I don't follow that shit. Can we just keep it simple? I just want to play the D&D game because it's what I know, or
That's what I know, yeah.
It's easy, or I at least played it a little bit, so I'm familiar. I don't want to learn some new rule system. The friction for most, because as a DM, I serve the players, so I'm not going to try and badger them into doing something they don't want to do. I will spend some time convincing them, but ultimately it's a group decision, and players generally aren't as informed as content creators or DMs for the most part, at least in my experience. So that's not to be underestimated in the conversation. Like, there will be a fight. I'll say
there is a thorn coming up for that as well, which is one of the things that has always kept me focused on D&D is tools like D&D Beyond. Like, it's immeasurable how useful a tool that does so much of the work for you, keeps track of the stuff that I have a hard time with. I just have, whatever the number equivalent of face blindness is. You put numbers in front of me, I forget them, I don't see them, I don't think about them properly. Numbers are a strange, abstract component to me, and a easy to use system that takes care of all of that really helped me get over that hurdle with Dungeons and Dragons. Most other systems don't have tools like that, but I happen to know that one of the original founders and workers on D&D Beyond is currently working for Paizo on that sort of system for Pathfinder. So that's a hurdle, or that helped, I think, a lot of people come to that table. And if other systems start getting that stuff too, I think that helps with kind of what you're talking about, Bo, where it becomes a little easier. If you can say like, hey guys, what if instead of D&D we did Pathfinder, and people go, I don't know. And you go, well, here's an easy tool that'll just do it all for you. I think it's very easy for them to go, okay, well then I'll check it out.
Yeah.
That's part of the battle. The other thing is going to be that maybe the D&D movie is successful and the D&D TV show, and they want that. You know, it's tough. It's a tough thing to, I hate advocating on that side, but it really is it can be a tough thing to battle, right? How many people, how many negative wishers have wanted EA and Blizzard to fail? You know, like just Reddit comments or people that are like, this company needs to go down, and they don't go down. In fact, they have profitable years. Like it's just kind of a reality we have to contend with, and I feel like that might be the destiny with D&D as well. Certainly, I'm not on the side of their side, but because what I see is what I see are companies trying to be the new D&D rather than just say, I'm not going to profit from this. Let's build an open source rule system. No one profits from open source, right? We need custodians for it. To me, that's the direction that probably would yield the best results, because let's say Pathfinder beats down D&D, OpenGL in 10 years, new edition, new rules. Eventually, that guy from Dimension 20, I saw he had a quote, is capitalism eventually ruins all tabletop role-playing games, essentially, like, because it's community driven and it's basketball in your local court, except it's play acting with rules. Like there's no scenario where people are, as this caller, we tie it back into this caller. The point is anybody who stands something to gain off IP are looking to exploit infinite yield. And when the money dries up, they put the squeeze on, like lemon juice, and it becomes intolerable bureaucracy at that point. And I feel like that's what it's like working at Wizards right now. Like, it's just, how can, that stuff belongs to us. And it's like, actually, you're running a game that, like, technically doesn't need you at all.
Yeah.
Like, and no company's going to I guess we go out of business. Like, no company's going to lay down when faced with not making money versus making money. And unfortunately, that's
I like
the destiny for all video game. Like, it's the destiny of all gaming entertainment products, pretty much, it seems.
I like that
Or
comparison
we still
to
have
basketball.
Heroes of the Storm. Sorry, rant over.
No, it's like basketball. I like the basketball comparison because it's just, imagine if the NBA suddenly started saying, sorry, you got to pay us a fee every time you have a pickup game in the park. That's what this feels like. That genie's out of the bottle, man. You can't do this with D&D. And it also strikes me that if I could, I'd go back in the 70s and 80s and tell everybody, but all the people that were freaking out about D&D, it's the devil and it's teaching our kids to do witchcraft and all this stuff, they were right, but they weren't right about the game. They were right about the a-holes who own it now. They're the witchcraft now, except it's money instead of spells. I am half kidding, but
I still say it's coming for video games soon. Not right now. Next 10 years.
I just don't.
When the industry starts constricting to a point where they're gonna start wanting a cut from streamers who stream their content. I mean, Nintendo's tried, and Square Enix has tried to ask people not to stream their game. Like, it's just not a good time right now. But they plan decades in advance. They have strategies about how they're going to handle things. And once that money once it becomes something that's too good for us to let go of, they're going to find a way to put a toll gate somewhere. Unfortunately,
I hate that.
I think the problem Wizards is going to have is that it is not going to be too good to let go of.
It's a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea. It's made by
like,
people who don't understand the space, but they're going to win anyways, unfortunately.
Wonder what the ghost of Gary Gygax thinks of all this, I
heard he was pretty litigious. TSR, because people are kind of like rose-colored glasses in TSR, but the joke about their name was that it stood for "They Sue Regularly."
Really?
They had like
Wow.
it's the fate over and over again. Like NBA has a copyright on the rules of their basketball, but like I can turn my phone on and live stream myself playing basketball. And if I was making millions of dollars, if I'm making nothing, maybe they don't care. But if I'm making millions of dollars on basketball, someone's going to try and find a way to get a piece or shut me down or something.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true. I didn't think of that.
IP touches everything. That's, I think, the caller's point is like if you made a little tool that is an art fill that you installed in your program that came from some library, well, that copyright holder is going to come out and be like, oh, you used our art fill to make JPEGs in your card game. 10% royalties, please, or I sue you. And everyone's like, like we got to build it ourselves to avoid having to get nickel and dime by every copyright holder in existence. But that's the trouble with software is it's like we should be sharing all these tools. It's infinitely replicable. Software challenges our notions of IP so fundamentally, and it's not going to stop. The AI art's the new one.
Yeah. Oh my Lord.
So.
Well, I don't like any of this, but I am curious. I mean, in the short term, we'll see. You said circle the wagons, and that's usually what companies do is they let time get the trending topic off of Twitter and stuff like that, so they can.
If they got nothing good to say. It's better to say nothing at all.
Yeah, I think that's probably what's going to happen here for a bit. But an internal revolt would be interesting if Mercer and crew suddenly said, "We're moving to this, whatever this is." That'd be massive.
They would be. It would be so stupid of Wizards not to have reached out to someone like CR first and have them buy in and signed up contractually.
Yeah, I
would find it it would be shockingly stupid if they didn't loop those guys.
But maybe they were already being so stupid. Maybe they didn't.
Maybe they didn't.
Yeah.
The story goes that there was an investors call, and it was like they weren't as profitable as they should have been. And the new CEO in place said, well, like all these gaming IPs monetize and we don't. And I'm like, you have a sub fee on D&D. You are monetized. You can buy backgrounds. Not enough. Needs to go harder. They want to make video game money.
They also didn't
D&D
lose money. Their earnings report was in the positive like it always is. Freaking F those guys.
But it's not enough. It's like... we're only making $100 million in profit when we should be making $1 billion in profit. Fix it, dumbass D&D people. And they're like, do you know what this hobby is? It's a miracle we making the amount of money we are.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, well, the call's over. I'm going to go lay in the money we made from our Michael Bay Transformers license deal.
And they don't have any good ideas. There's a way to make this a good idea, which is to actually open it up even further and offer yourselves as a publishing arm for community created content. Like you have the D&D content, open up a second brand. Like they have DM's Guild, for example, like legitimize a publishing arm and be like a book publisher. Every content creator would find it a dream to be in an official book, right? So
hell yeah.
Let them make their own stuff and then farm from that league to make content because you can't keep up with it. They'd happily do it. They'd probably work for a pittance compared to people that you have on staff. Like just like how Hearthstone art and MTG, they have to hire a bunch of freelance artists to do things and stuff like that to keep their all that art for cards coming out. Like they could just do that with D&D material.
Yeah.
And the mainline brand would be agnostic to any universe. It would just be rules, items, monster stat, compendium, monsters compendiums and rules things. No one needs a 6th edition. Like as the week has gone on, I'm like, 5th edition is one D&D. This was literally what the premise of 5th edition was. Do you know what the last D&D book I bought was? Planescape material. 2nd edition for use in 5th edition. I literally won D&D'd 5th edition last year or 2 years ago. Like it's completely manufactured. I want to go back and watch the publicity after the show for 1D&D and see what I can't tease out.
Oh yeah, but that'd be fun.
That too, yeah, because there's no need for a 6th edition. You have 5 editions. Why don't you just remake 1st edition and start cycling through the editions?
Andy in the chat says maybe Elon Musk will buy Hasbro and fix it. How you feel about that?
What's that, sorry?
He says that.
He says like troll bait to me.
Yeah, it says Elon. I'm sure he's
I don't want to
kidding.
buy all of Hasbro because I feel like the Hasbro Wizards relationship is sort of seems a little bit like a Activision Blizzard relationship a bit. I think you can't discount the influence of Hasbro on whatever WotC's doing.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Do you think guys that work there they call each other Hasbros? Do you know what I'm saying? Like if you worked in the mailroom and you're just,
I'm sure someone there is pretty proud of the fact that he does.
Oh, I'd hate that.
I think the story is they might have done that for a while, and then they did an audit of their workplace comfort and friendliness. Yeah. And Hasbro's is kind of toxic masculine, so it's now banned. It has peoples.
Has peoples.
You're a has person, not a
has person. Yeah, I like that. All right. Well, thank you for the call because that's we're going to keep following this obviously and talk about it when things come up on the show. So good to have some feedback outside of the show. We also got a text this week from no name given. They didn't say who they were, but they said, I have never played Witcher 3, but thanks to you guys, I bought it on Steam for $9.99 during their sale. So did I. Being female, I find that I have a harder time immersing myself into a game with a male protagonist. My question for you two, or for you guys is, do you have a problem immersing yourself into a game playing a female character?
Oh, well, John.
Not these two.
Why am I the poster boy for this?
Oh, no, you're not. You're not. I'm not singling you out. You and I are both famously in the same boat on this.
You'll always choose a lady if you can.
If I have a choice, I will almost universally play as the female character.
Right.
Yeah, same.
And I'm the opposite, but not for reasons that are problematic. I just pick dudes because I'm a dude. I relate to it. I see it. I go, yeah, that's a dude. I'll be a dude. Like I never play ladies. Now, if I play a game where it's Lara Croft or Aloy or somebody who's the protagonist of the entire game, I 100% love playing them, and I don't have a problem with that.
Given the choice, you'll choose a male protagonist, unless he's awful and Cassandra is better.
Yes, that is correct. That is one very notable exception because she's that good and he is that bad. But even if he was okay, she's just so superior. It's just impossible not to choose her in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I guess. But I guess to their point. You guys do this more than, me. I'll do it here and there, but you guys always go female with your characters in MMOs and junk like that. I love that the choice is there for people, but I've never really thought about the immersion thing when you're locked out of one choice. So when you play The Witcher, John, you often choose a female character, but you can't in The Witcher. Does that do you feel less immersed because you don't get to make the choice you would normally make?
No, I'm fine with it. I did really like the sections where you play as Ciri. I thought that she was actually really cool. I like the play style of teleporting all over the place, but I don't have a problem playing male characters in games. It's, again, for me, it's just if I have a choice. And the one that I actually think is really interesting is my wife is the exact opposite. If given the choice, she'll play a male character.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So, in fact, it's kind of funny because we play Fortnite together, and they did a Gears of War pack where you got main character's Marcus, right?
Marcus
Phoenix.
Marcus yes. Phoenix? Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
You got him, and then you got the new protagonist of the most recent game that came out. Was her name Cassie? I can't remember. I'm bad with names, but anyway, you got Marcus, the old protagonist. You got Cassie, or whatever her name is, the new protagonist. I immediately played her. My wife immediately played Marcus. We both went into Fortnite, and that's who we were playing.
She's his daughter, right?
Yeah, it works out that way.
They're related.
Think she's his daughter. I think she's the daughter of somebody else.
Oh, I thought she was.
I think he had a son. I think he has a son in it for the next generation.
5. We're talking about 5, right? Gears 5. I thought she was daughter. I don't know why I thought that. Maybe I've got that wrong. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, she went one way, you went the other. See, and I would have been her. I would have picked him. I would have picked Marcus Phoenix 100 times over her. But I loved playing her in 5 because that's who you play. It was no problem. But I get this. I understand it if you're trying to.
I mean, you played as Cassandra in Assassin's Creed.
Yeah,
so
and she's
no
awesome,
wonder.
man. Oh my gosh, she's good.
I think a lot of it too is there's some people, and it's not the same for everybody, but there's some people when they make like their MMO character, right? They see the MMO character as just them in the video game. Like that's my avatar. Like
Right.
this is me in the game. And I think that there are other people who are like, no, I'm playing a role. This is RPG, and the role I'm playing is this character. And I think that that's also, that doesn't really have anything to do with gender necessarily, but I think that that's a mentality that changes what you put into a video game. Because some people are like, you know, it's the old thing, like, why do you play as a human in a video game? You're a human in real life. Like, what
Yeah.
fun is that? And
Yeah.
I think just for some people, it's like, but that's who I am, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and this is me in the video game.
That's why
Like,
those
that's
choices are
how it
great.
works.
That's why it's almost like the accessibility stuff we were talking about earlier. The more choice you get, especially in games where the choice is meaningful, like an MMO, I'm for just as much of that choice as possible. Like, who knows what your mood is or why you do it or why you feel better playing this or that. The fact is you can. So that's good.
Also, it's an exploration. I mean, it depends on the game. Like, I don't know if the gender is really the issue with Witcher 3. If you're like, I can't get into Witcher 3 because it's a dude, but one way to look at it is it's an exploration.
Yeah.
So I am not a woman. So when a game offers me a narrative experience to experience the world in that way, it counts as exploration as much as getting to the other side of the Barrens to see what the mountains are like over there, or clearing that part of the map. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm a dude. I know what the dude experience is like, but I have an opportunity to play a woman. It's not that I'm like trying to pretend to be one, but I'm exploring that facet of the human experience, especially in a narrative game. And I think you could look at it from the reverse. Although The Witcher 3, Geralt's already kind of weird, but that might be a way to become more satisfied in playing someone of the opposite gender. It also depends too, because games are very much written, whether they're female or male protagonists, for the male gaze or with the male perspective in mind. So no matter what gender you're playing, your experience is still very much centered on a male perspective. And there aren't many games that are like, written. There are females on writing teams, so I still think you can get that, but it's hard to know. The authorship of games is not really something that's out there, so it's hard to know when you're seeing things from a different experience, but I would consider that a form of exploration.
Sure.
It just depends on your hangups about gender. If you're like, oh, if I have boobs on my character, it must mean I'm gay, or I'm going to accidentally find out I'm a transgender and that scares me. There are people like that. There are content creators like that who say shit like that on their very popular YouTube streams. And I'm like, oh, it's so lame.
It is lame.
Like, it's fun and neat to explore things. Like when you're a kid and you're playing Tyrannosaurus Rex versus Godzilla, you're not worried that you're really going to wake up and find out, oh, I'm supposed to be Godzilla. You know what I mean? Like, so you can, like, it's play. We're playing, and you can be an adult and you can play. People told you it's not cool to do that because they suck, because they think the adult just has to be about suffering.
Yeah.
But you can play as an adult. There's absolutely nothing wrong with throwing on makeup, putting on a dress, and just seeing what that's like. Doesn't necessarily mean anything about you. And if it awakens something in you, that you can see that as a positive, not a negative.
Sure.
So, it's maybe ask yourself why, if the immersion is not important, or maybe, I don't know, guys can be kind of gross. Maybe you're just like, I don't want to play a dude. Like Kratos is a big turnoff for me, I gotta say. Like, just his character. Maybe he gets better as it goes on, but I do not like the gravel voice, giant muscle man. It is not I'm like, I get it. I watched 80s action and 90s action movies. Like, been there, done that 1,000 times over. Not interesting to me anymore as much. But
well, his is all about the journey from that to someone who understands fatherhood, who understands that his life of testosterone fueled screaming and killing is maybe not all it was cracked up to be. Like, there are reasons why that gets broke down, which is an interesting journey in itself. But I get what you mean. Like,
yeah, and it might be like I've dismissed the game too quickly. I think I will get back to it at some point, because there's an interesting story there that's been acclaimed and made a sequel of. I just mean, what got me to stop was like, oh, the character and the state he is in the beginning of the game. I'm like, not a fun fantasy for me right now, and generally.
Sure,
so I sort of understand if you don't want to play like some brooding dude who's kind of, I mean, Geralt is kind of an asshole. He's a good-hearted asshole. That's kind of his deal.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just not a thing that you like, you know, like so.
Sure.
You know, and yeah,
Justin,
that game is very much made with the male gaze in mind. Although I know a lot of women who like Witcher 3, the relationship stuff can be kind of a little, you know, you got all kinds of women fawning over you. It's so great.
Yeah.
You know,
I have
kind of thing.
I have a friend she's a professor at the University of Utah. She teaches narrative storytelling in the gaming department up there.
Mm-hmm.
Her name is Corinne, and she still says The Witcher 3 is the greatest video game ever made, ever. Which is interesting, just given her perspective. She's a heterosexual female who usually plays women in games if given the choice, but absolutely just glommed onto that thing. So everyone's going to be different, and that seems obvious. I will tell you, though, from a 90s era perspective, I was doing some digging around in some old stuff, and I was looking at old Disney games for an upcoming segment on Play Retro, and the Little Mermaid game for the Genesis and the Super Nintendo. You are Ariel, right? Obviously, you're Ariel. You should be Ariel.
I would assume so, yeah.
Yeah,
but I
you
have
do
a feeling
Ariel
you're
stuff.
Going to turn this on its head.
But when you start that game, you have a choice. You can go through Ariel's story as it was meant to be with Ariel, or you can choose her dad and play as her dad, who has nothing in the movie to do with any of the rest of the story other than he's kind of
what's
uptight.
the gameplay of that? You just go around asking people if you've seen his daughter and then sending
No.
other people to go look for him?
I mean, you literally do the same stuff. They don't change it at all. You swim around and get the same things on screen.
Literally
and-
put in to
You
make
fall
sure
in
boys
love
will
with
play.
Prince
Yes.
Eric and then want to make a deal with a sea witch and have legs? This is a very progressive game.
Yeah,
actually.
Bo is absolutely right. It seemed
By
like
the
a
way,
blatant attempt to like get boys to play your girl game is what it felt like. But
By the way, I watched The Little Mermaid like 50 times when I was a kid.
it was a great show. It was a
great.
great
I
movie.
loved Little Mermaid as a kid.
Yeah.
Little
It was
Mermaid
great.
thing,
Plus, you
yeah.
know, it helped build the thing in me where I was really attracted to women wearing nothing but shells on their chest. That was a thing.
You needed help with that? You were like, man, I wish some art would come along to sell me on this idea because I'm opposed in principle. But
Love this
I could be
concept.
convinced.
Love it. But yeah, I will also say that
I just wanted to be Ariel and have a cave full of dinglehoppers and doodleberries.
doodleberries, yeah. Or what's this called?
And
Oh yeah,
sing,
feet.
I want to
Yeah.
be part of their world.
I just think
I
Ursula
think
is
I
the
just
greatest
want
villain.
the now like amazing story of a gender flipped Little Mermaid where it's King Triton goes up to the surface and sees Prince Eric dancing on his boat and is like, maybe I've made a mistake. I know I've got like 50 daughters, but
Look at this
something
place.
about this handsome man that's really doing it for me.
Look at where I am. Look at his face.
And Ariel's like, Dad, you cannot go make a deal with a sea witch to get legs to go marry a prince. And he's just like, you're my daughter. You can't tell me what to do. And then he goes off and does it.
Yeah.
I want this movie so bad
You
now.
kind of get it in the game. So if you ever want to try that out, it's available where all illegal ROMs can be found. All right. Let's get out of here. Before we do, big thanks for the emails, texts, and everything. You can send those to 801-471-0462 if you want to text us or leave voicemails, or send us emails to talktothecore@gmail.com. We got a bunch of new patrons again this week. You guys are on fire. I freaking love this. Thank you for joining us up with us, the following human beings. They went to patreon.com/core show. Garrett Story, Adam Wendell, Pino, I think is how you say that, or Peno.
Peno?
Could
Peno
be
or
Peno.
Pino?
It's more pen than peen, I guess. Anyway, Chewy.
Great
So
name.
we got our first Wookiee is here.
Nice. Wookiee
Justin.
support.
I tried to do Chewbacca. I don't
Wow.
think that worked.
It's like a vomit baka. And then you got Justin McCurley, Dagan Missner. That's a cool name. I feel like you should be in charge of a Game of Thrones thing or something. Walter Gray. And finally, Nick Arcade. All of these fine folks joined up this week. You're amazing, as all of you are. Thank you all so much. If you don't want to ever get a commercial on the show and want pre-show content every week, plus a bunch of monthly other benefits, then there is no better place to go right now than patreon.com/core show. Huge thanks to all our new patrons and all those who are already there. You make the show happen. All right, I think that's going to do it for us. We'll be back next week. Frogpants.core for all, or frogpants.com/core for all of our stuff. No matter what you're looking for, you'll find it there. On Elon Musk's Twitter, you can find us at John_Jagger, Bo Schwartz, and Scott Johnson. Of course, Core Pod as well if you want to follow the show. And watch us live every Thursday night at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. We usually go about, how long have we been on here? 3 hours and 48 minutes.
Oh, shit. Ali's bro in the chat room says he's the guy who just won the PC and wanted to say thank you.
Hey! That's
Congratulations.
Hey!
Not on your PC, but on having the best sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also it sounds like it's because you are the best brother to her, your sister, and that's amazing. I mean, even his name in the chat. Even the name in the chat. He must love his sister. Look at her. His name is Ali's bro. Like, he's literally like, hey, it's my sister.
Yeah, damn.
I think everybody should have a brother like you. And it's just a side bonus. You're going to get a rad machine out of the deal. So, congratulations.
Make sure to give her a turn to play it every now and then.
That's right. Let's turn to the old lady in the room who's going to catch us up on the games we played today. Grandma, take it away.
The assumption that they didn't repeat themselves enough and you forgot what games they were talking about because for some reason that's the host problem. Heaven forbid you pay attention to the podcast you deliberately listen to and have to actually remember something more. Oh my gosh, rewind a little bit. It's on us to remember something. You want us to have memories, but you refuse to have them yourself. So I'm here to help you out at the end.
Okay, Grandma, just get the games and we'll put you to bed.
I'm getting to it. Scott played Dave the Diver. That's the diving sushi game. If you were like, I like sushi, I like diving, it's Dave the Diver.
Yep.
He played Dome Keeper, which is the game where you dig and you have a dome.
Yep.
And you keep it. He also played Loop Hero and the World of Warcraft. John played the Final Fantasy XIV. He also played Norco, which is the adventure game with pixel art. It was very atmospheric. They talked about it. You can go back and listen to it. He says the name twice. I know it. He also played Vampire Survivors. He talks about that a lot, so no surprise there. And Bo played Borderlands 2 in VR and Borderlands 3 in not VR and Thumper in VR. That's a VR, a flat screen, and a VR. He also played 2 hours of Death Stranding, and he watched it.
Yeah, he did. It was a movie, really. Like us. Thanks for watching, everybody. And more of you coming live would be nice as well. So come hang out with us on Thursday nights. I know it's kind of a long haul, but we enjoy being with you. Hopefully you enjoy being with us. That's going to do it for us. Until next week, we'll see you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Yes. Get more at frogpants.com.